must be na kung saan pinagbabawalan ng mga tao na lumabas, somehow you are mandating the forced vaccination to our citizen. And as a matter of fact, Mr. Chairman, Co-Chair, meron pa ditong issue ang DILG that the different LGUs must enforce, meron pa ditong, or must give incentives to those LGU na magkakaroon ng 100% vaccination. That was issued by Secretary Anyo during that time. And all the issuance of the Department of Labor and Employment with regards to do sa mga establishment not to allow those who are not vaccinated to enter their establishment. This is somehow a violation of our fundamental rights in accordance with Article 3, yung ating basic rights for life, liberty, and property. So, we are not here to blame you, Mr. Secretary. What we are trying to find out is what went wrong doon sa ginawa po natin. And now, the WHO will approve the ratification of the 307 amendments binding all of us to their health protocol. Kaya yun ang tinatanong namin ng mga members dito. Dapat po malaman natin anong agenda ng representative ng WHO dito. Because kung magkakaroon tayo ng isang one health protocol, one health standard that being dictated by the WHO, again, face mask, again, lockdown, again, one vaccine, then I think problem will arise again because yung mga tao na naapektuhan ng kanilang liberty and life are being curtailed. Yun po yung ating gustong i-point out dito, Mr. Secretary. Members, you wanted to...
Can I?
Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah. We, of course, submit to the wisdom of the House of Representatives, and that's well within your prerogative. But let me just highlight, other than the fact that we continue to appreciate the Congress for enacting RA 11525. Let me highlight that on Section 7, yung authority ng HTAC as the provision of the law states, is on the basis of a preliminary data arising from the clinical phase 3 clinical trials. Hindi po hinihingi dito na dapat completed yung clinical trial. So this is again a recognition of the experimental nature of the vaccines that were used for our vaccination program. But be that as it may, the law, which is a beautiful one, also is very clear on the provision of the indemnity fund. And that is why I would like to make a manifestation to the chairperson that perhaps PhilHealth, when I was preparing for this hearing, the 500 million indemnity fund, a statute, a provision of the law, only 4.4%, only 2,008,000 pesos have been disposed or allocated. And after 2 years, and I think that performance is quite anemic, and something has to be done to review so that moving forward, all those people who have been affected with these severe adverse effects post-immunization, they can really be truly helped. Again, as you said, I'd like to use your word, moving forward, and be more positive.
And Mr. Secretary, I would like to dwell on that. Yung sinasabi mo sa Section 7. Section 7 states that the issuance of the emergency use authorization that was issued by FDA. Ang tanong ko lamang doon, I will be asking also the PhilHealth, since you questioned about the utilization no 500 million indemnity fund. Yun nga, PhilHealth, can you kindly tell us kung unless you have a question to Secretary Duque, I'll be dwelling with
Salamat, Chair. Actually, hindi na kay Secretary Duque. I think it is he explained it very well. But I just wanted to ensure, yung sinabi lang ni Chair Fernandez kanina, the point of this joint committee meeting is to ensure that moving forward, pag may nangyari ulit at sana walang mangyari, ay sigurado tayo yung step-by-step na protocols na ginagawa natin. And that is why, again po, babalikan ko lang yung kay Yusek Tayag. Yusek Tayag, moving forward, ang DOH now will do its complete staff work. You will take a look at all these amendments being proposed and the timelines, and that when you are asked again in the future in this committee, joint committee meetings or any committee, ay pwedeng upfront na yung sagot at malalaman natin, alam nyo kung kailan man lang yung deadlines, yung timelines, and kung ano yung linalaman. Can we have that assurance, Mr. Tayag?
Yes, sir. And personally, I apologize if there was a misunderstanding of what I have stated in the previous meeting, because the ongoing IHR discussions I described in that meeting pertain to the 300 plus amendments that will be discussed in another meeting before it's presented to the World Health Assembly meeting in May.
Yes.
Thank
Yusek
you.
Tayag,
Pasensya na
coming
po.
from DOH, the meeting before the last one, 2 meetings ago, may joint meeting, hindi po kayo yung nag-attend. Who attended from the DOH? I think it was a lady who attended.
I was informed it was Undersecretary Lilibet David.
Is she here today, this morning?
She's not here.
Yes. So now moving forward, who in DOH will be in charge of all this? Kasi siya ang hindi, during that meeting, parang hindi nga siya naniwala na hindi niya alam na November 30 yung deadline. So the question now is, moving forward again, who in DOH will be in charge?
Right now, I'm the Undersecretary for the Public Health Cluster. And in my opening statement last time, Your Honor, I mentioned that I oversee 5 offices. That's the Disease Prevention Control Bureau, the Epidemiology Bureau, the Health Promotion Bureau, the Knowledge Management and Information Technology Service, and the Pharmaceutical Division. The representation of the Department of Health to the IHR amendment discussions is with the Epidemiology Bureau, sir.
So you're telling us now that it will be the epidemiology unit that will be in charge of all these amendments, and sila yung may know-how at sila yung pwede namin tanungin for any amendments.
And
timeframe.
and Your Honor, in cooperation or in discussions with other offices as well, because there are several articles amendment that is not
Yes, but there is still a point person.
yes
And that
po.
is the epidemiology
That's
unit.
correct, sir.
Sino po ang head ng epidemiology unit?
Ang head po ng Epidemiology Bureau ay si Director Alitea de Guzman. She's not here because she is now in Geneva with the other Department of Health representatives for the intergovernmental negotiation body for the pandemic treaty.
In that unit po or bureau, ilan po sila doon?
Nandito po ngayon yung
So how
division
many
chief
first
nila.
are in that bureau?
Okay.
How many personnel?
Right now, 35 yung sa plantilla positions and 96 po
So
yung
habang
job
wala
order.
si USEC, who is in charge? May
Okay.
officer in charge?
Meron po.
Sino po siya?
We have Dr. Jojo Roque who is here now, Your Honor.
Dr. Jojo Roque, narinig mo naman lahat ng sinabi ni Yusek Tayag. So from here on end, ikaw ang tatawagin ng anything about WHO or amendments to their charter. Kayo at si Yusek and your bureau is the one in charge and should have complete staff work and should be able to respond immediately to time frame, timelines, any amendments. Do you confirm that? Dito po, pakisabi lang para on record tayo.
uh, being under my director, who is now in Geneva, Switzerland.
Yes.
Yes, we will.
The bureau itself will
The
take
bureau
charge and you
itself.
will ensure na may complete staff work. Huwag kayong mahiya sa ibang USEC o sa secretary po ninyo, and you have to know your business. You have to know your responsibilities para ready kayo sumagot. USEC Tayag, may sinabi ka rin sa letter mo eh. Sinabi mo that you are now you have ongoing discussions to the amendments of the IHR with the Department of Foreign Affairs. Ano eksakto yung consultations niyo with the Department of Foreign Affairs? What are
Okay,
you consulting them with?
Okay, Your Honor, the processes the Department of Health has undertaken is in consonance also with the procedures followed by the Department of Foreign Affairs, because we work with the Department of Foreign Affairs wherein we are represented in these discussions Geneva, sir.
Meaning technical technical issues lang. Pero the
Ah.
bottom line is kayo pa rin ang magde-decide of all the issues.
Yes, sir. We seek guidance and clarification because we want to make sure that the country's laws pertaining to discussions in a international environment would proceed with what the protocol the Department of Foreign Affairs observes, sir.
Yes, but DOH is the one that attends, even international. Kayo ang bumoboto doon, kayo ang either magre-reject or mag-assent.
We do not reject, but we participate sa discussions, and there are ongoing discussions, and other member states, just like the Philippines, participate in the discussions, sir.
Meaning, para saan pa yung 18 months o yung magiging 10 or 12 months to reject? If you say that DOH is not reject, bali nandun tayo to agree to everything.
Bali ganito, sir. Yung international health regulations, di may mga articles po yun.
Yes.
Ngayon, dinidiscussion.
Correct. That is
Babaguhin
where
ba
you
yung...
participate.
Oo,
Okay.
babaguhin ba yung language?
Oo.
Ngayon, pag nabuo na po yun sa May, sa World Health Assembly, yun po ay ipipresent ng working group ng International Health Regulations.
Yes.
Tapos sir, merong 12 months bago siya ma-put into force kung yan ay mararatify sa May, at 10 months para ma-reject o approve ng ating bansa. During that period, lalabas na ngayon sa Department of Health yan kasi i-inform na namin lahat ng centers para ma-review po yung mga inaprubahan
Wait,
doon sa
you said that,
So, pero
wait,
you will not reject
Co-Chair.
or approve. Sinabi mo kanina, you will not reject or approve. But then, para pa itong mga 12 months o 10 months and 18 months na yun.
Bali ganito po, sir.
Yusek Tayak, I have to remind you that you have to completely, honestly tell the truth on this committee, Kasi huwag mong sabihin na tayo yung boboto. Representative nga natin sa WHO, hindi nga Pilipino eh. And they're the one voting. Hindi naman tayo bumoboto doon, sila. Sila may representative sa atin. Wala tayong representative doon. Di ba?
Sir, member state ang represented puro sa World Health Assembly, hindi po WHO country representative.
Sino nagre-represent sa International Health Regulation? Sa World Health Assembly na sinasabi mo.
Yung Pilipinas po,
No,
Department of Health.
no, that one, that guy, this guy is the one being
Hindi po.
representing us. Si Indonesian ba yun?
More or less.
ano
Sir,
pangalan niya?
panliliwanag ko.
Sige.
Yung WHO representative.
Okay, sa World Health Assembly that was conducted in May 2022, who is it that is it the representative from the
Hindi
World
po.
Health Organization? Sino?
Philippines po.
Oh, sino?
Tayo,
Ba't hindi tayo na-inform? And that's the reason why we are asking on November. Prior to the expiration, we were asking, sino yung nag-representative natin doon sa amendment? Dahil nag-expire siya ng November 30. And sabi nyo, wala pa. Ano pa yan? May extension pa.
Sir,
Di ba?
ang
O sino ang ating representative sa International Health Regulation? What's the name?
May 2020.
nung yung
Yes.
sandali lang po.
Ano pangalan niya?
Sir, I was just informed of the Director of Bureau of International Health Cooperation.
Hindi,
Si
ano pangalan niya,
Alvin.
Yusek Tayag? We're asking for the name. If you are
Okay,
confident enough to tell us that this committee, that person, tell us, what's the name of that who represented us?
Sir,
we will not rejected the different the different
Sir, ito ang
amendments.
binigay po sa akin pangalan, Undersecretary Vega and Assistant Secretary Beverly Ho.
Sila ang representatives sa
During
international
that
regulation.
time,
During that time that we have discussed this,
ito
they
po ang
were
binigay
present
sa akin
here.
pangalan.
They never tell us that they are the representative in the international health regulation during the World Health Assembly.
They were here.
They were here. We were talking about the excess deaths as well. And that's that's again, Yusek Tayad, we are reminding you to be honest. Wala namang mawawala sa atin. We have to be truthful. Kasi nga this is an issue, hindi lang issue ng Pilipinas. This is an issue of all over the country, all over the world. I will try to show a video clip, lang, kapraso lang, para
Sige.
makita natin na ang problemang ito. Hindi
Imprisonment
lamang tayo, tayong buong mundo.
in the hearts and minds of these criminals.
I believe it will
uniform.
mean the
What more
establishment
can we do
of a
in terms of legislation
worldwide totalitarian biotech state. So these instruments, and by the way, of a worldwide
Lane. Reggie Littlejohn, president of Women's Rights Without Frontiers, explains what the proposed revision pandemic. Some critics say the proposed changes would give the WHO authority and control over healthcare, trade, and other aspects of our lives. Appearing on this week's episode of The Global Lane, Reggie Littlejohn, president of Women's Rights Without Frontiers, explains what the proposed revisions would mean for the United States and the world.
I believe that it will mean the establishment of a worldwide totalitarian biotech state. So these instruments, and by the way, you correctly characterized the zero draft as an agreement. That's what they're calling it. They don't want to call it a treaty because they are deliberately trying to subvert the United States and the other countries' treaty processes. So if it's an agreement, all it takes is a signature. It does not take going through our Senate. So people say, oh, don't worry about it. It will never pass our Senate. Well, they are deliberately subverting our Senate process.
Signatories must recognize, quote, the central role of the WHO as a directing and coordinating authority on international health work. What do you believe that means?
Well, it means that the WHO is able to call the shots if there's any health emergency or potential health emergency anywhere in the world. And the language that says that they have to have the permission of the country is stricken, so that they can do it without the permission of the country. And it's not only about human health. They have something called One Health, which means that they can do it on behalf of human health, animal health, plant health, the environment. They can use any reason that they want to be able to come in and basically run the show in terms of addressing that health issue.
And I've read the zero draft proposal. It gives the WHO authority over the global supply chain, trade, commerce.
Okay, so mahaba din po yan. Pero ang sinasabi ko dito, Yusek Tayad, kasi itong nangyaring amendment is very crucial. Katulad ng sinabi ni Co-Chair, substantive talaga yung issue that we are talking about because it entails the sovereignty of our nation. Kapag natali tayo sa desisyon nila, we will all be following their standards. Lahat. Even it takes our liberty and our life and our property. And that's the reason why we are tackling this issue. That you need to update us, give us knowledge on all of this issue that is happening all over the world already. Hindi lang to sa ating bansa itong sitwasyon na to At dito nakalagay yung mga amendments. 307. Pero ito yung mga 10 na pinakagrabe that will be injected and be ratified on May 2024. This will include yung ating tinatawag na restriction natin. Doon sa sinasabi nga natin, digital global network system, na kung saan andun na po lahat yung ating pong medical records, andun na lahat yung ating personal profile that will be accessed by the WHO. Yung pong pag-uusap natin katulad nito, na kung saan pinag-uusapan po natin ang tungkol sa mga issues regarding the pandemic, cannot be allowed anymore under Article 45. Alam ba natin to? They call it infodemic. Bawal ang mga disinformation. And this really scary. Nakakatakot to. Hindi lang kami ang mga parliamentarians sa Pilipinas ang nagsasabi nito, but all over the world. Si Senator Ron Johnson ng Republican sa states, si Congresswoman Green, si Congressman I forgot the name, si Chip Roy, they are all they're getting together to fight this one world health protocol na pwede nating ipaglaban. Kasi what we wanted is that hindi lang tayo nire-represent ng isang unelected person, but we have to be a part of it because we are elected. Di ba? So yun ang gusto naming iparating sa inyo, that we have been to the past of the pandemic and what we have experienced. Naging bahagi ito ng pupuntahan natin sa susunod. Yun po yung gusto nating ipakita sa ating pong mga members na narito. So, Congressman Barbers, you want to say?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, ako natakot lang ako doon sa video yung pinakita mo. And if indeed the disease X is going to happen, God forbid, sana hindi dumating dito. Because I remember during the time when the news about COVID was happening in other parts of the world, we were the only ones who welcomed the tourists from China, if you recall, no? While I think that was the time when the COVID began to spread like wildfire in the country, when we allowed China Airlines to ferry a passenger who was suspected to have been affected by COVID. And I'm sure the Secretary is very well aware of this. Now, Mr. Chairman, may mga katanungan kasi na I think we should all be worried about, because if indeed the disease X is going to happen, sana yung ating mga kapalpakan noon hindi na mangyari, di ba? First, when there was a spread of COVID, the immediate reaction of the government was to impose lockdowns, correct? So when we had lockdowns, then it somehow curtailed the spread, but it has limited economic activities and etc. etc. Then IATF said that you have to be all vaccinated so that you can move around, mikot kayo, makapasok kayo sa trabaho. So government entered into agreements, para makabili ho tayo ng mga bakuna, yung mga testing kits na yan, yung una. Kasi nung una, hindi, this is new kaya nga novel sabi natin, novel But when things were unfolding as to the IATF's policies, Mr. Chairman, meron isang provision doon na I think still remains to be questionable, yung non-disclosure agreement nung nag-supply sa atin ng bakuna. And I think the signatory to that was the former secretary. Is that correct, Mr. Secretary?
Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, the signatories were the Department of Finance Secretary, the Chairman of the National Task Force, and the DOH Secretary. And yan pong non-disclosure agreement na yan, that has been resolved. Lahat po ng mga kontrata, the same issue was underwent an investigation by the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee sometime in December of 2022. And maybe it would be good to refer the Honorable Chairperson to the full comprehensive report that was approved by the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. So yung mga reservations about the non-disclosure, we were accused of being opaque, we were not transparent. These have already been all addressed, Your Honors. And so the report is there with the Senate, and you can very well access it. It's
May
a
I
public
know,
record.
Mr. Chairman, since the good secretary has already mentioned that, maybe it would be best for the secretary to educate us as to the summary of this report. Kasi bakit to importante ito? Importante ito because this has caused an uproar, no, in the community. And you very well know that, Mr. Secretary. Attending the Blue Ribbon Committee does not cure whatever defects, legal defects there are in this contract. I'm not saying there are defects in this contract. Ang ano lang natin kasi if this disease X happens and things like this that we felt are not really aimed to address and solve the problem of the pandemic as what happened to us in the COVID experience, eh bakit gagawin natin yung ulit? And then we will tell us, kasi may Blue Ribbon Committee report na yan eh. Di ba? So what does the committee report say? In brief, Mr. Secretary.
Well,
Mr. Chairman, sorry.
Secretary, please respond.
Mr. Chairman, yung non-disclosure agreement is not something that the Philippine government, the procuring entity, invented. This is an imposition of the vaccine manufacturing companies. And if we did not agree to the non-disclosure agreement, the essence of that agreement is so that yung kanilang intellectual property, hindi ito basta-basta makuha ng kung sino-sino. No? So, ang sabi nila, kung hindi kayo papayag sa non-disclosure agreement, at least initially, no, we won't sell you the vaccines. So, wala tayong magawa doon. Alaga na mapabayaan natin mamatay ang mga mamamayan natin. Hindi natin makuha ang bakuna samantalang mga ibang mundo, lahat ng mga bansa. Sumang-ayon naman sa non-disclosure agreement as an imposition of the vaccine manufacturing company. And we were desperate kasi syempre ayaw naman natin na dumami ang mamamatay sa Pilipinas. Eh mahirap naman po yun. Hindi ba kung magmamatigas tayo, sasabihin po natin, hindi, ayaw namin yan. Bawo sa amin yan na non-disclosure agreement ninyo. We'll trash it. Eh, hindi naman po ganun ang realidad. Ang realidad po, talagang tayo ay nagkakanda, talagang we were desperate. I keep saying that we wanted to make sure that our people are protected. That was the first and paramount consideration in all of this. Kaya nga nakafocus tayo eh. And again, I thank the Congress for really putting together this very good landmark legislation. Thank you.
Barbers?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I understand perfectly the situation during that time when the national government was really bent on getting that vaccine here. Pero hindi naman tayo limited sa Sinovac eh. If the Sinovac was the only company that will provide vaccine to us and impose this requirement, bakit hindi tayo tumingin sa iba? Second, di ba? Kaya nga, kumuha tayo ng napakarami. Ilan yung natapon? Ilan yung hindi nagamit?
I do not have the stat on that right now. But in fact, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, yung nag-impose niyan ay yung Pfizer, hindi po Sinovac. Yung Sinovac man, I can't really recall the exact provisions of the contract. But ang alam ko, if I remember right, Pfizer and I think Sanofi wanted the non-disclosure agreement. And as I have explained, Mr. Chairman, yun ay to protect their their intellectual rights over the vaccines.
Kaya nga, Mr. Secretary, if I may, interject lang ako.
Mr.
No?
Chairman.
Aside from the non-disclosure that we are trying to talk about, ang isa pang mabigat na issue that we need to tackle about it is yung pong yung tinatawag na immunity from liability. Kasi immune sila in accordance with Section 8 of Republic Act 11525. Lahat ng mga manufacturer, wala silang liability kung magkakaroon man ng adverse effect yung mga vaccines. And it's happening. 113,000 were recorded by FDA. FDA, am I right? as an FDA, am I right that there is an adverse effects after immunization of 113,000 plus?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I confirm.
And there's serious side effect of 10,000 plus? Diba, according to your submission?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I
That's
confirm.
correct. And if that is correct, that there is a 113,000 of adverse effect after immunization, then the immunity from liability that is written in Section 8, no, of Republic Act 11525 is somehow need to be amended. Kailangan talaga natin ma-amend na dapat meron silang responsibility and liability. And alam mo, kagabi nagbabasa lang ako nung sa States, sa US. They filed a bill, liability act or liable act. Kasi immune din sila sa liability. Lahat ng manufacturers sa buong mundo that sold yung mga vaccines ay walang liability. So ngayon, ang nagsasuffer dito yung ating PhilHealth, dahil naglagay pa tayo ng indemnity fund para nang sa ganon, kung merong magyayari problema sa ating mga mamayan, tayo pa, pera pa natin ang ipang i-indemnify doon sa mga injured vaccine people. So, Congressman Barbers, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I was about to go to that next question, yung tungkol dun sa immunity, no? But since you covered that up already, so again, going back, no, ang pinupunto lang naman dito is that, okay, nakakatakot kasi yung disease X. I'm sure all of you doctors or medical practitioners agree that this is not something that we should ignore. Kasi nga, if yung COVID, in-ignore natin eh. Wala yan, papasukin nyo lang yung mga China. O yan, dumating. Nung dumating yung Chinese, o di kumalat. Marami tayong namatay. Now, with that immunity thing that was mentioned by the chair, where PSA admitted na nagkaroon ng cause of excessive deaths, di ba? And this is exactly the reason why we're here today. We're investigating the cause of these excess deaths that happened during the period where the nation was under a COVID situation. And we don't want to see this again happening soon, so that we will now be prepared. Unfortunately, it was a painful lesson. Marami namatay. Almost 1 million ang namatay. So, Mr. Chair, that was just the point I'd like to raise. No, maybe aside from looking into the treaty that we have signed or we will be signing or we have participated, we should also look into the internal procedures and processes in the event of another pandemic, global pandemic, just like what happened kaya nga ngayon, at least alam natin sino yung mga competent na pwedeng humawak niyan. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Barbers. Any member who still wants to say anything? Anyway po, the point po no, that we are bringing up really is that kaya moving forward talaga ito ng secretaries because we want that prepared lang talaga tayo so that wala ring perception na merong mistake o may mali nung nangyari nun. Because I think at the end of the day, in-explain sa atin ni Secretary, at that point in time, nung pumutok na po itong COVID-19 pandemic, my understanding is he's telling us that talaga nagka-demand from the public that the government respond to this COVID-19 pandemic. Now, based on that demand for some action on their part, nandito nga pumasok yung vaccines. Kasi globally naman, kasi may social media na nun eh. May technology na napapanood natin nangyayari offshore sa iba-ibang bansa. May narinig talaga tayo na vaccines sa ibang bansa. So yun yung intindi ko kay Secretary Duque that because of this demand for some response from the government at yung ibang bansa ginagamit ay vaccine, ay yan rin ang pinasok natin. Yan rin ang rota na pinasok natin. Yes, Secretary, you want to say something?
Yeah, just very quickly, I just want, with all due respect to the good Congressman Barbers, yung hindi po 1 million yung namatay sa COVID. Ang namatay po is 64,000. documented. But again, tama po kayo na baka naman dahil nasa kulang yung testing natin at that time, dahil nag-uumpisa pa lang yung mga paglikha ng mga test, ano? Eh baka marami rin dyan mga namatay sa COVID pero hindi na document. Pero let me just take this opportunity, Mr. Chairpersons. No? As of today, yung global population na nakatanggap na ng bakuna is 5.55 billion people. Out of that, that's 72.3% of the total global population. They have been inoculated with 13.53 billion doses. Ilan po?
So you will not, you can, I think, Secretary, tama po yung sinabi ni Mr. Secretary, but you cannot deny as well that there are adverse reactions on the vaccine. And that's the reason why we are discussing this. Well, I believe that the effects of vaccine outweigh the risk. No? We subscribe on that. But unfortunately, those people who have died unknowingly, hindi natin alam, tapos yung effects. And doon sa PSA that I have seen, even 2022 and 2023, yung excess deaths natin, mataas pa rin. It's more than the usual 5%. As a matter of fact, mga nasa above, I think, 20% pa rin tayo. So, somehow you can have the correlation. But I'm not saying that it is actual integrated with that. But all over the world, things are being said like this. And we have to be somehow be more critical, no? Para sa gano, we can be prepared on the next event that will be happening, you know. And those people, like for example, those people from Lunas who have initiated the fight for this, no, we have to consider their feelings. We have to consider kung ano yung nararamdaman nila at yung naapektuhan sa pamilya nila. Because they are people who are not vaccinated, and we have to protect their rights. Because we, the vaccinated people, we have the rights as well, in accordance with the, with the Constitution. But we have to protect them as well. So with that,
That is correct, Chair.
Congressman.
Yes. Yes, Secretary, you wanted to say something? Yes.
Yung po kami po nakikiramay ang buong Department of Health at ang IATF doon po sa mga namatayan na report. Siyempre, ayaw naman po natin mangyari iyon. Pero ang kagandahan nga ng batas, nakalagay po dito malinaw na meron pong itinatag ang IATF na Special Task Group precisely to monitor the severe adverse effects post-immunization.
Co-vigilance.
Oh yes, lahat po. Meron pong pharmacovigilance on the part of FDA.
Yes.
Pero meron po tayong itinatag na Special Task Group precisely to monitor these events post-immunization. Diyan po gagawa monitoring, evaluation, investigation, and reporting mechanism. So yan po, malinaw. Kanya nga, dapat po ito, it should be appreciated, the law in its entirety.
Yeah.
And precisely as it recognizes the severe adverse effects.
Maputol kita,
yung PhilHealth po,
baka makalimutan ko lang.
Oh, yes.
So you were talking about yung mga investigative monitoring and evaluation and assessment of all of this that happened. Anong grupo yan?
Ito po yung Special Task Group.
Who heads that group?
Hindi ko na po maalala, but that is what is in the law.
Yusek Tayag, sino ang head nung nagmo-monitor ng ganyan
Okay.
sa atin?
This is a group which was labeled the National Adverse Event Following Immunization Committee, sir.
Oo nga. Sino nga nag-head nun?
I will have to ask my team, sir.
Sige, sino lang?
Dr. Faith Villanueva was the name given to me.
Faith
Your Honor.
Villanueva. We will be asking her to be present. Andito ba siya? Para to update us on yung mga submitted na mga reports sa kanila. Yes. Sige, can we possibly recognize the attorney?
Attorney Aaron
Please state
Sumilon.
your name at saka yung institution that you belong to.
Good morning, Your Honor. I'm Attorney Aaron Sugilon from Lunas, Pilipinas and CDCPH. Your Honor, dudugtungan ko lang yung sinabi ni former Secretary Duque, no, that we have to appreciate the law in its entirety. In fact, RA 11525 is very wise. Under Section 13, meron talagang reportorial requirements. And and even DOH has a protocol of suspending the rollout after 2 or more adverse events following immunization, not necessarily connected sa vaccine, but if it happened after the vaccination rollout, they will suspend it. They should be suspending it. So sa sinasabi natin moving forward, dapat fina-follow talaga yung mga protocols na to because these are guidelines para sa safekeeping ng tao. We understand emergency yon talaga to procure vaccines. Pero naglagay naman kayo ng guidelines para hindi tayo magkamali. Even if it's emergency, dapat mas cautious tayo kaya may monitoring na good. And sa FOI po namin, walang monitoring na nangyari. We got the information from DOH itself. They admitted that they're not monitoring those who are vaccinated and not vaccinated. So FYI lang po yun na sa freedom of information, hindi sila nag-monitor talaga.
Yeah, in the last hearing, we have, I think, the two last hearing, we discussed
Yes.
the effort that you have undergone, no? And you have received I don't think it's a zero response, but it's on a negative response.
Yes.
Under ng ano yan, Parcom Vigilance? Saan kayo sumula?
Yes.
Sa FDA? Or Parcom?
FDA, DOH, actually marami. Lahat ng agencies concerned. Tapos ang common theme ng sagot nila is we don't have the data on that.
Yeah. Hindi, siguro, Secretary Duque.
It behooves upon us, Mr. Chairman, that there probably is some monitoring because FDA has given us a list. Kung walang monitoring, how did FDA generate the list of about 113,000 adverse events following immunization? So I just want to debunk that notion that wala nagmo-monitor because in fact, by law, it is there. Otherwise, the department is accountable. If this provision of the law, which is very clear, the establishment...
Secretary,
Yes.
if I heard it correctly, I think ang point ni attorney was that under the law, dapat una-una kung may adverse effect na mamomonitor kayo, then you're supposed to suspend. So did that happen? And if it did not happen, what was the reason for that? O wala bang adverse effect kayo nakita with anyone during that inoculation? Yun yung point niya.
Yeah. The policy kasi, meron mo tayo tinatag na National Adverse Events Following Immunization, NAFIC.
It was established
national-
right when the law was
Yes.
passed. Okay.
The NAFIC. In fact, even before the law was passed, meron na
Yes.
tayo niyan. Kasi,
Yes. So
tandaan
siya yung
natin,
nagmo-monitor.
siya nagmo-monitor
Yeah.
yung causality. Kung ito bang nangyaring adverse event
Yes.
directly on account of the vaccine. So marami tayong mga experts dyan, immunologists, infectious disease
May
specialists.
degree ba yun? Meaning,
tinitingnan
I
yan
mean,
lahat.
meaning, paano kung nahilo lang? Kung nahilo lang, is that considered an adverse effect that says na huminto tayo? Or,
Ay,
or may
hindi
degrees
yun.
kayong ginawa
May,
doon?
may degrees ho yan, may mga thresholds. Kaya hindi
Yes.
naman
Could you
pwede.
submit yung protocol na
Yes,
yun
yes,
sa
we
amin
have
so
the
that we
protocol.
also know that?
Yes,
But can I ask first, attorney?
Yes.
attorney.
Your Honor, no, dun sa portal ng DOH, ang limitation na sabi nila, 2 or more adverse effects if it's a same brand or same place of inoculation. Pero nakasulat din doon, it does not necessarily have to be vaccine-induced. Basta it happened after the vaccination. So hindi kailangan yung i-investigate, pero in the meantime na in-investigate, it should be supposedly i-suspend ng rollout. So hindi necessary na ano po.
Sinabi mo na after 2 adverse
Yes,
effects.
Your
Who
Honor.
will say na nagkadalawang adverse effect? Who will say that?
Eh,
Who will be the decision maker na nagkadalawang adverse effect? Will it be DOH and that committee that we are
Your Honor,
referring to?
hindi sinulat po dun sa portal ng DOH, but from the last hearing, sinabi po ng FDA that they regularly report to DOH na may mga adverse effects.
So nag-report ang FDA
Yes,
sa
regularly
DOH during that time.
Yes, Your
Yes,
Honor.
but nagre-report sila, but who has that final say na adverse effect ba siya o hindi? I mean, I'm asking you po for the
Yes.
simple reason that in the future, pag magsusunod kami ng batas, hopefully hindi na kailangan
Yes, Your
Hopefully
Honor.
wala nang ganito.
Yes, Your Honor.
But if that happens again, kami nga nagsulat noon, sinabi namin yung dalawang adverse effect.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, gusto ko lang malaman may flaw ba dun sa language or the way it was written. So based on that, sino ang magde-decide? Hindi FDA because nagre-report sila
Yes,
sa
yeah.
DOH, ano? So mali ba
Actually,
yung writing na yun? It should have been more precise.
Your Honor, dapat walang naka-define kung sino
Yun.
yung magka-qualify na adverse effects.
Yes.
So, ang kiniklaim ng DOH, kailangan from the experts of the government.
Yes. From your point of view and from your group,
Yes, sir.
based on your study, sino dapat ang nag-determine ng ibig sabihin ng adverse effect and what is the meaning of an adverse effect? Para alam lang namin po.
Yes, Your Honor.
I hope we don't have to
Yes, Your Honor.
do another law on this in the
Yes,
future.
Your Honor.
Ayaw natin, but we want some guidelines already now.
Yes. Better siguro kung meron from private clinicians and from the government para merong hindi monopolize ng isang
Yes.
site yung determination of adverse effects. Na dapat wala rin conflict of interest kasi
Pero
marami
attorney,
kasi
saan mo nakuha yung...
Tapusin mo lang.
Yeah.
Tapusin mo lang.
Hindi,
Conflict of interest.
okay.
raw.
Well, ano ko lang, may relasyon doon sa sinasabi mo.
Yes, sir.
So when you told us a while ago that there need to be 2 events that happened, then after that it should be suspended.
Yes, Your Honor.
It was written on the reply box that you have received.
Hindi, sa ano po yun? Sa portal po ng DOH.
Yes, I know. Yung portal nga ng DOH. So they have said that
That they will suspend
after
2 adverse effects.
Oh,
Adverse events.
in that case,
Ang question nga, who will determine?
Wala pong
adverse?
if that was the advice of the DOH, primarily galing sa DOH yun.
Yes,
Dapat
dapat
sinasabi
ginano
ng
nila.
attorney, dapat hindi lang DOH. In the future, that body that decides ano yung adverse effect, dapat may participation rin yung private practitioners.
Hindi po. Ang unang point ko po doon is ang DOH po nag-come up ng protocol na yun to suspend after 2 adverse effects.
Okay.
So, wala namang qualification kung anong adverse effects. Nahilo, that's an adverse effect. Kung
Yes.
namatay, that's an adverse effect. So, walang qualification. Any
Okay.
adverse effect should be investigated.
Hindi, that's the reason why I'm asking
Yes,
kung
yes.
if it was indeed received by your group that the reply of the DOH was exactly that after 2 adverse effect, there will be suspension.
Hindi na po namin in-FOI yun kasi nasa website po ng
Oh,
government.
nasa website. Is it really
Yes,
in
nasa
the
website
website?
po ng DOH.
Yusek Tayag.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. I don't know where Attorney Sogolon got his information because earlier you said it was not from the Department of Health, but it was in another hearing.
No.
Can you confirm?
No. You got it wrong. Sorry, I have to
Address it to
yes,
the
yes.
chairman, please.
Ang sinasabi ko po, in the portal of the DOH, sinabi nila that the 2 or more adverse events following inoculation, magkakaroon ng suspension of the rollout. Now, tinatay up ko po to doon sa sinabi nung representative ng FDA during the last hearing na meron naman talaga sang nire-report nila yung adverse effects, na adverse events adverse events regularly sa DOH. Ang hinahanap po namin, bakit walang naging suspension of the rollout?
Because nga sino nga magdedetermine? That was what I was asking
Hindi,
you.
sinabit po ng FDA, sila po yung nag-determine that time.
Oh, FDA, kayo nagdedetermine under the kayo magdedetermine kung adverse yung effect, hindi DOH.
Basically, Mr. Chair, we just do the
Yes.
reportorial, sir. We transfer.
Repertoria lang.
Yes
But
po.
who determines kung adverse o
We
hindi?
submit it to the NAIF po.
O di,
So but na if that group is the one that will determine kung talagang
We do not
adverse o hindi.
determine the causality.
so
sir.
wait, sino ang head ng National Adverse Effect after immunization?
That I do
I
not
see
know.
si Beverly. Is it Beverly? Yung you mentioned a while ago?
Faith Villanueva.
Dr. Faith.
Faith Villanueva, sir.
Dr. Faith. So we will be inviting her to appear on the next hearing, para to shed light on this issue that matters so much, Dahil nga kung merong ang adverse effect at sinasabi na 2 days after, 2 days, 2 events, dapat suspended na yung product na yon. But it never happened because we have seen in a lot of videos, that you presented na after ng vaccination, meron talagang mga nahihilo, meron talagang sumakit ang ulo, whatever, di ba? So, anyway,
Mr.
maganda po
Chairman,
yung topic natin that we have
Let me ask
discussed.
Secretary Dume.
Sige,
Just
Secretary
very
Dume.
quickly, Mr. Chairman, I think with all due respect, it's going to be foolhardy naman just because nahilo, may nangyaring ganito, it's correct to investigate. And our protocol is very clear on the ways to handle the investigation of such adverse events. But to suspend it, stop everything just because of this, I don't think that is the intent of the national vaccination program. It's really just to zero in on a particular individual who received the vaccination and had manifested adverse effects. Purportedly, syempre, gusto mo isipin, baka bakuna. Diba? So you have to be yung prudence, no? That you want to investigate ano ba ang cost nito. But if nakita mo na hindi naman dahil, kasi may mga tao talaga nahihilo, ma-injection na lang, nahihilo, no? May mga ganun, mga minor adverse events, no? But it's not enough justification to say we suspend the entire program. I think that is not the intent of the law, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you so much. Attorney Lat, you want to say something?
Yes, good morning. Attorney Tanya Lat of Legal Light Workers for Life and Liberty. Mr. Chairman, it's unfortunate that Secretary Duque was not present at the last hearing because at the last hearing we presented videos of people collapsing and dying shortly after being inoculated. There are videos that have been recorded by concerned citizens. They have fed that information to us. During the first hearing that Secretary Duque was here, we personally handed him copies of Pinaslagas. Concerned citizens have been compiling reports of people dying either on the day itself, a few days after, a week after, a month after. And we have been capturing screenshots of their Facebook posts. Some of the people themselves have said shortly before their death, this happened because of the vaccine. Now we have been experiencing massive censorship on Facebook, Mr. Chairman. Last hearing, we tried to share the video that was aired here in Congress. Facebook did not allow us to share it. We experienced multiple times it being shared on Facebook or in Facebook Messenger, lumalabas po, could not send. And eventually those posts were deleted. Many members of Lunas Pilipinas and CDCPH over the last 3 years have had their Facebook accounts blocked or removed because of our attempts to bring this to the public, Your Honor. We also wish to point out that Deng Baksha happened not so long ago, and it took 50 deaths of innocent children for the DOH to order a stoppage of the rollout. 50 deaths. Here, there are at least almost 3,000 deaths. But from our reports, Your Honor, it appears that the deaths and the injuries are massively underreported.
Attorney, pasensya na, but could I ask you first? First of all, you've documented in the Philippines that immediately after inoculation passed away. You have a document. You have documented that.
There are concerned citizens that have sent us videos. So people being vaccinated, and then shortly after, pinapakita po, they collapse at the vaccination site, and then later on, they reported that they have died.
Yes, mga estimate mga ilan to?
I honestly cannot say, Mr. Chair, because these are anecdotal. We are just a volunteer group, Your Honor.
Yes.
We have no resources to document.
I get your point.
And the video that was shown last hearing was really a volunteer effort. We have made repeated attempts, Your Honor, to bring this to light. We filed a Supreme Court case. The lead petitioner is here. Mr. Nicanor Perlas has been writing to Secretary Duque as early as October 2021, warning him about the dangers of the vaccine. We have presented these in court. We have copies of the Pfizer report, 9 pages of adverse events documented, and they were only released in the United States because of a Freedom of Information request. Unfortunately, here in the Philippines, our agencies have been deaf, blind, and mute, and the media has been silent on this issue of people dying from the vaccines.
Attorney, could I recognize the lady behind you're Miss Sally?
Yes, I'm Sally Clark, and I'm working with Lunas Filipinas on a
Yes.
volunteer basis. I've also been last hearing, I presented that the Philippines has data in the US VAERS system. These are foreign reports. Most of the foreign reports received to VAERS have been submitted by the Philippines FDA to the vaccine manufacturers, who then submitted them to VAERS. These are all public domain. In the VAERS system, from Pfizer, Moderna, and Janssen, there have been reported 1,158 deaths and more than around nearly 8,000 adverse reactions. This is in the US VAERS system. The difference for this system is that we can read the accounts and we could see what happened because it gives us the time lag between when the person was vaccinated and when they died or when they had an adverse reaction. And the peak adverse reaction happens on day 0 to 2 following vaccination. And many of these accounts include accounts of people who died the same day as they were walking out of the vaccination center, or they were found dead the next morning, or they were found dead within several days. These accounts can all be read. I have read every single one of the accounts in the VAERS. And as I said, most of these have a Philippines FDA reference number, meaning they passed through the Philippines FDA. The Philippines FDA has submitted first weekly reports, then monthly, and then quarterly reports. The last report from FDA came out as of the 31st of December, 2023. And the FDA said they would not be releasing any further reports unless required. However, the FDA's, ever since they started issuing these reports on the 4th of April, 2021. At that time, there were several deaths. By the end of April, there was already, I think, 35 deaths. By the end of December, there were nearly 3,000 deaths in their system. And since the start of the vaccination campaign, the wording in their reports remain exactly the same. The benefits outweigh the risk for most persons. And in terms of investigating the adverse reactions, they have a section which discusses. And most of the recognized adverse reactions did not change over months. So they said, this reaction, we have, for example, 500 reactions. 2 of them are vaccinated, are recognized as product related. 498 are still under investigation. And that did not change for many, many months. So I have been reviewing the FDA reports ever since they came out. So if you have any questions, I could probably answer them. Thank you.
And the chair would like to recognize as well the man beside you. What's his name? Can you kindly introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Chair. My name is Nicanor Perlas. I'm the lead petitioner versus the IATF in the case in the Supreme Court. At the same time, I'm the founder and lead researcher of COVID Call to Humanity, which has been documenting this issue in the last 4 years. We've published over 2,000 articles. And I have here before me, Mr. Chair, a copy of which I will submit for the record if you're permitted. It's a copy of the open letter to President Duterte in April 18, 2020, already advising him that the science and the global experience was not showing that COVID was actual threat. That was April 18, 2020. He ignored it. And then the vaccinations came and the deaths were becoming very clear. And in October 18, I issued 2021 a cease and desist with a letter with notice of liability to all the heads of government, executive, legislative, and judiciary. So these are cabinet members, the president, vice president, the military, everybody, documenting in 76 pages all the scientific evidence that the vaccines do not work, they actually kill. There has been fraud in the definition of vaccines, the vaccinated. For example, Mr. Chair, CDC, US, defined a person as unvaccinated if after 2 doses, 14 days after 2 doses. So in other words, you got vaccinated, but you're not considered vaccinated, but you are unvaccinated. So therefore, if you die within that period, you're considered an unvaccinated person who died. This is just one of the fraud. Then also admitted by DOH in a Freedom of Information request that I made, they actually, the RT-PCR test there's a cycle threshold usage of 35 and above. Well, it is known in the medical and scientific literature, if the RT-PCR tests are rated 35 and 45 cycles, it's 95% inaccurate. You're going to get a lot of false positives. So therefore, what that means, Mr. Chair, is that people, let's say, who got into an accident and they died, not because of a disease, then they will test positive based on the RT-PCR test of high cycles. They will be branded as dead through COVID. And I know this from the governor of Cebu, who personally told me, and it's here in the cease and desist document, they have a lot of cases because there are over 700,000 pesos reward for every hospital that will put this sa COVID there. So the government incentivized fraud, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I just also want to point out that already the global estimate based on hard data, when I say hard data, it's like 99% probability, anywhere from 13 to 17 million have died around the world from the vaccines. There are over 1,000 studies, scientific peer-reviewed, that have come out that have shown the serious side effects of these vaccines. And this thing is not stopping because the regulatory agencies, also in connection with WHO, they've gone into a kind of even more fraudulent activity. For example, Mr. Chair, CDC just approved early last year, what's called the Future Framework, which means to say they will approve an experimental vaccine in 2 days or 1 week. It normally takes 12 years, Mr. Chair, to approve a vaccine for its safety and efficacy. But now they've authorized it based on the mRNA technology, which is now proven to be really highly dangerous, and it actually modifies the genetic system of everybody that gets it. Bill Gates himself said he's really excited with modified RNA because it will make the human being a manufacturer of the toxic of the spike proteins that they've been found to be really toxic even without the virus. So this is the reason why there's so many deaths, Mr. Chair. And the U.S. Senate basically and House a few months ago confirmed in hearings that the reason why it's so deadly, the COVID vaccines were bioweapons. So this is the reason. They actually did genetic engineering. They modified it. They transferred genetic segments from a normal coronavirus and so on. This is a big issue that's coming out now because if they did that, this means to say the reason why there's so much fraud in this issue is that there was an intended murder of people. I cannot say it in any other way because the science has been very clear. And I must say this also, Mr. Chair, that the Twitter files have now been exposed by Elon Musk, who took over Twitter files, and there a whole swath of CIA, FBI involvement in the actual censorship. And they work through what's called the Trusted News Initiative. The reason why we don't get this story in the mainstream media here, they rely mostly on wire services like AP, Reuters, AFP. They're part of a global network that were paid by the US government to actually censor information about what's happening in the world. So this is a much bigger fraud, Mr. Chair. If you're going to move forward to understand this, we have to understand that the science of the previous policy, for example, like over 100 studies on lockdowns, no benefits. Masks, even the WHO before said the masks do not work.
Okay.
Yet they forced it. And
So thank you so much, Mr. Perlas. No, I read certain article as well, no, with regards to this theory, no, conspiracy theory, no. We all know what's happening and who are the people behind the global elites and things like that. And what we are into right now is yung reality right now that so many have been dying in this country, and all over the world. But in correlation with the vaccine, directly or indirectly, somehow part of it we can link it, but not the
Yes.
totality of the whole picture. But what we are trying to establish in this hearing is for us to have those people responsible, and for us to move forward on a bigger scale, considering that we have seen effort on the world scale that another pandemic will hit us. And if we're going to have the same kind of health protocol that will be dictated upon to us by the WHO, well, I think we, the members of this committee and the legislative, have to work all together in order to abate this kind of situation to happen again.
Mr. Chair,
Ano muna tayo kay before I recognize Mr. Ledesma, sa PhilHealth. May tatanong pa ako sa iyo eh. Tama-tama, nagtaas ka ng kamay. Sige, go ahead, sir.
Actually, sir, with the permissions of the honorable body, the co-chairs, if I can discuss briefly the indemnity fund of PhilHealth and how we can assist moving forward po.
Yes,
with their permission po.
Mr. Ledesma, kasi meron tayong 500 million na indemnity fund, no? Sa 500 million na indemnity fund na yan, ilan na na-draw dyan out of those who have experienced the adverse effect after the immunization?
Actually po, that's one of the issues I want to discuss kasi so far 0.04% pa lang. Sir, if I may, can I give a brief summary on the
Sige, go
fund?
ahead.
Very quickly lang po. Thank you very much, co-chairs.
You have a slide to present it or?
Hindi na po.
Wala.
Hindi na po. Anyway, before I begin, co-chairs, I would like to personally and in behalf of PhilHealth thank this committee for inviting us to participate in this very important hearing. And also to this honorable committee, especially honorable chairs, co-chairs Dan Fernandez and honorable Roman Romulo. I would like to personally apologize for not being able to attend the previous hearing, and rest assured po, from here on in we will be present always. Also, I just also would like to from PhilHealth, we admire your preparedness and passion for this hearing, co-chairs, and we are here. We PhilHealth is here 100% to assist you in whatever way we can. Regarding po the indemnity fund for COVID-19 vaccination program, Section 10 of RA 11525, also known as the COVID-19 Vaccination Program Act of 2021, provides for the creation of the COVID-19 National Vaccine Indemnity Fund and authorizes the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation as its administrator. The fund is created to cover for hospitalization, permanent disability, or death arising from severe adverse effects following immunization. PhilHealth's policy on indemnity fund aims to provide compensation for any vaccines administered to the COVID-19 vaccination program in case of death, permanent disability, or hospital confinement. The policy covers death, permanent disability, or hospital confinement due to SAEs from COVID-19 vaccines administered to the COVID-19 vaccination program. Going to your question earlier, Chair Dan Fernandez, and as mentioned by my good friend Secretary Duque, the status of claims for the vaccine injury compensation package, the fund po is 500, total of 500 million that was transferred to PhilHealth. So far, as of today po, the amount paid to members is 2,008,1926. So it's very, very low. It's very, very minimal po. And that translates to 0.04% of the 500 million indemnity fund. Now, lastly, I just want to state, co-chairs, honorable co-chairs, that we want to assist the ones affected in the filing of claims. By the way, for the record po, I joined PhilHealth in late November of 2022.
Oh.
This fund was started in mid 2021 po, no. And also I just want to mention lastly, we at PhilHealth, no, full force po kami dito, no, as usual. We are willing and available to conduct meetings and orientation with the members, beneficiaries who were adversely affected due to the vaccine injury but have not yet filed their claims. So they will be able to be compensated immediately. No, we don't release, honorable co-chairs, we don't release the vaccine injury compensation payment to hospitals. We release the indemnity payment directly to the members or its beneficiaries. No, the entire budget of 500 million was transferred to PhilHealth in 2021, mid 2021. And again, like I mentioned, I had joined in late 2022. No, a separate trust fund was created for PhilHealth specifically for this purpose. No, thank you very much, Your Honor.
So in other words, Mr. Ledesma, nandun pa rin yung nandun pa rin yung fund natin.
Nandun pa po. In fact, we will be more than happy, and we want to coordinate with you very closely,
Yes,
honorable chairs, so
alright.
that we can use
Kasi
the fund.
I have a lot of those who have written me through email, no, yung mga complaints nila, no.
Okay.
And ang
Naku,
question ko sa iyo,
yes,
sir, anong mga processes are being conducted by the PhilHealth enable for them to find out the veracity of those who are claiming?
Thank you very much for the very good question, honorable co-chair Dan Fernandez. No, with your permission, sirs, can I call Dr. Clem from PhilHealth? No, she's very familiar with the process.
Sige, kasi
If she can very quickly lang explain para
sige,
we can
please.
also accelerate the process. No?
Kasi I think that processes that have been issued by the PhilHealth, no, through the IRR, medyo merong nagkaroon problema the last time that we have invited yung si John Kevin Arado na nabulag yung mata, and it was confirmed that it was due to vaccine. And nung nabulag yung mata niya, parang gumastos siya ng 55,000. Ay, binigay sa kanya ata is almost 55,000, pero ang nagastos ata niya is more than, malaki yung nagastos eh. And that's the reason why we wanted the PhilHealth to give us yung yung processing ng kanilang mga documents. Sige, go ahead, ma'am. You have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and the honorable members of this committee. For the claims filing po, members have to file po to PhilHealth and also have to submit some documentary requirements. And the benefits include for death, permanent disability, and for hospitalization po. So either of those can be claimed po by a member. And for the process po, upon filing po nung kanilang mga documentary requirements and the claim form for the COVID-19 vaccine injury, this will be evaluated by our claims people. And also, there's also a need for the NAFIC and the RAFIC to assess po whether
What's that? I hope you don't mind if I interject. Ano yung sinabi mo? MAIC? What's
Sir,
that?
that's the NAFIC, sir, the National
The immunization after
Yes po.
adverse event.
They are supposed to assess po the causality of the
So the
injury.
national immunization, adverse effect after immunization, nandun po sa per region? Meron
Yes,
bang per
meron po.
region? Together with the PhilHealth?
Yes po.
Okay, sige, go ahead.
So we submit this to the RAFIC, which is the Regional Adverse Events Committee, where they do the assessment whether the cost is directly related to the vaccine. So if that assessment proves that the incidence or the adverse effect or the condition of the patient is directly related to the vaccine, then this will be processed for and paid by PhilHealth directly to the member.
Okay, so how many weeks or days will it take for the claimant to get the necessary help from PhilHealth? Those processes that you have mentioned, how many days yan? Like for example, sa NAIP na sinasabi mo that it has to be assessed. So what is the process of assessment?
Sir, the process of assessment within the NAFIC is, sir, it's dependent on them. I cannot, maybe around, they said around 30 days for them to assess on the average. But for PhilHealth, sir, once the documents are already complete, then we could readily file or
Okay.
pay the claim,
Sige,
sir.
kasi in relation to what they have discussed this do sa last hearing, they have encountered a lot of problems in the processing of the claims. I do understand that we have to protect the money of our government, but of course sometimes yung necessity ng claimants, you cannot also di ba, hindi mo rin matawaran kumbaga. So can you tell us a summary or a shortened process that can be initiated for all those who are claiming for this issue? Sige, Mr. Ledesma, please.
Again, thank you very much, Kong Dan. Honorable Kong Dan. Actually, what I'm planning to do, sir, after this hearing is we'll sit down, we'll discuss with them and with your honorable sirs, how we can accelerate or expedite this process, because we're more than happy to 0.04% lang po yung nagagamit, we're more than happy to use up all, if not even more than the 500 million, so we will find ways po, by closer communication, with them, with their owners and your owners, on how we can accelerate and expedite the process. Make it very simple, make it very easy. Sabi nga ni Sec Duque before the hearing, sabi niya, sayang yung pera, gamitin natin as fast as possible, And we are here at your service po.
And thank you, we admire you for that, And probably it's high time that the both sides talk together para to move forward, but without negating, to the responsibility of those people that we think is responsible for these debts, But this gesture of our government agencies, former and now, yung ating mga nasa different agencies, this will allow for the healing process of those families that have been neglected. Kasi nga, the process is parang sa inyo, parang masyadong mahaba yung proseso that they cannot claim anymore. And in accordance to what we have seen do sa mga nagsalita before, hindi na sila nag-undergo ng processing because the lengthy process that they undergone, medyo the more na nadi-discourage sila. Di ba? So, sige, Secretary Duque.
Just two things, Your Honors. Number one, as you've said, moving forward, Section 10 of RA 11525 is a good provision, but we'll consider, if you may, an amendment kasi may prescription period of 5 years lang. What worries me is that after 2 years from this enactment of the law, there's only 0.04% performance in terms of utilization rate of the indemnity fund of 500 million. So nakakatakot, baka matapos ito mag-lapse. So an amendment here, which I think is apropos, is to extend it by another 5 years, 10 years.
Okay.
All
right.
Protected naman.
So we will be filing an amendment on this Section 10
Yes,
under
yes,
Republic
I
Act
think-
11525. But at the same time, you work together with those vaccine-injured claimants, and assess their situation for us to find out kung talagang victim sila ng respect.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, the
Sige.
second point po
Yes.
is really to streamline the process. But at the same time, cognizant of the COA restrictions, because you cannot just, give money just
Yes,
like
correct.
that. So
That's
you have
correct.
to really strike a balance where the fiduciary responsibility of PhilHealth
And of course,
this has to be PhilHealth must be mindful of this, Madali mag-release ng pondo. Pero kung kailangan, huwag mo naman patagalin, di ba? Kung kailangan talaga, kaya nga streamline processes. Cut the red tape, and then accelerate the release of the funds, but at the same time, mindful of your COA, your responsibility.
sige, Mr. Ledesma, then Attorney Aaron.
Very quickly lang. Thank you again, Honorable Chair, Dan Fernandez. I'm one with Sec Duque, no. So kung pwede sana po magdulungan tayo, no. From our end, we can assure you from PhilHealth's end, no. We will accelerate, we will expedite everything, make it very easy, no. But from your end po sana, kasi if you do the math, no, 0.4, 2 years, actually, with all due respect, Sec Duque, don't even extend it by 5 years. Gawin nyo ng 10 years. Kasi ang liit ng ano eh. So kung pwede, extend nyo na ng 10 years, parallel tayo po, no? Extend nyo yan. Basta kami from our end, we will sit down with our friends, and then from PhilHealth, we will really make it easy po. Makikita nyo po, no? Rest assured yan from our end. No? We'll make it very easy. Yes.
The reason why we're really discussing this issue because we need to really amend yung Republic Act 11525, and at the same time katulad ng liability ng mga manufacturing company, dapat sila nga tumutulong sa inyo para magdagdag ng pondo para indemnify yung mga claimants di ba?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
I
Your
think
Honor.
the responsibility of this manufacturing company who have profited so much on this pandemic must be in relation also to the victims of the adverse effect. So,
Yes.
Attorney Aaron, sige, please.
Your Honor, thank you. Dadagdag ko lang dun sa we're in agreement dun sa streamlining. I hope na i-recognize din nila yung causality assessment ng mga private clinicians. Kasi yun yung naging problem ng mga clients namin eh. They only allow diagnosis from the government experts. So hindi nila allow yung mga clinicians who have actual experience with the patients. Ngayon, pangalawa, nabanggit ni Congressman Dan yung immunity. In fact, sa section, balikan ko lang, section 8 kasi, may caveat naman yung immunity na yan eh. Kailangan except arising from willful misconduct or gross negligence. In fact, early on, lumabas na ang Pfizer, meron silang 9-page adverse events of special interest. So lahat ng mga sakit na nakikita natin na suddenly namatay, nakapaloob dun sa 9 pages na yun ng adverse events ng Pfizer eh. So when it comes to immunity, hindi po talaga totally immune yung mga manufacturers kasi may caveat eh na kailangan hindi grossful negligence or willful misconduct. Obviously, willful misconduct yun kasi tinago nila na ito yung pwedeng mangyari doon sa mga i-vaccinate. So
yeah, we understand the intent of the law.
Yes, thank you.
Actually, parang meron tong provided that it's not willful, di ba? Yung intent of misconduct and gross negligence. And actually, kung pagbabasihan mo tong section 8, hindi siya talaga totally nakaalis dun sa immunity. But the problem is, well, the implementation of this law, no? Siyempre, hindi kami we are only legislative body, so the implementation is not ours, and it pertains to another branch of the government. So I think what we have to do is really to protect our community by amending such
Attorney Aaron.
Wait,
Relax lang. Gusto ko lang kasi may sinabi
okay.
siya na dapat may private take into account.
Yes, sir.
Paano kung hindi magkasundo? Paano kung iba yung sa government assessment, iba yung assessment na private?
Kailangan odd number yung body para hindi sila mag-equal ng
Who will be the odd? The government rin yun, di ba? At the end of the day, kasi galing sa gobyerno yung pera eh.
Sir, at the end
Yun yung issue ko eh. Paano, how will you be able to make that
Sir, basing on the nature of yung adverse effects na minention ko.
Correct. Sinabi mo sana
take
into account nila yung yung private ninyo.
Yes.
Di ba? Ang point ko, paano kung iba yung private, iba yung assessment ninyo, iba yung assessment nila, sino mananalo? Who prevails?
Una, sir, ni-recognize naman ng PhilHealth yung 21 adverse effects of the vaccine.
Correct. But kahit na i-recognize yun, at the end of the day, it's the causality that matters. Huwag na nating lituin yung issue.
Sir.
May causality. No, you were the one who suggested it eh. Sinuggest mo, Attorney Aaron, na dapat they take into account yung private practitioners, yung assessment nila on causality. Ang question ko ngayon, paano kung iba yung assessment ng private, ibang assessment ng government, who prevails?
May pinapalo po na objective. They will explain.
Sige, all right.
Good morning, Your Honors. Attorney Bello. from Lunas Pilipinas and CDCPH. What Attorney Sogilon was referring to, as also explained to me by our medical advisors, volunteer medical advisors, is that there is actually a set criteria for determining, I think, which is widely accepted in the medical field.
Okay, but then even if there is those standards, at the end of the day, is there a chance na iba yung inyo, iba yung decision nila? That can happen. And if that happens,
Yeah, the difference could arise po from vaccine bias.
oh, no. Don't. That's agenda setting. Ang point is, there's a standard. You said there's a 32.
Yeah.
Pero even if you have that, sinuggest nyo kanina, because we want to move forward. We want to know ano yung legislation na pwede namin gawin. Ang sinabi niyo sa amin, sana tinake into account yung sa private. Okay pa ako doon. I have no problem with that. But then, what if the findings of the private causality is different from that of government? Who prevails?
Well,
You can tell us.
Mr.
Because-
Co-Chair.
I want an answer. I want
Okay,
an answer. What's the response to that?
What is beneficial to the injured?
Oh, who will determine what is beneficial again?
Then they get the compensation, sir.
No, I think they have the wrong answer. They cannot answer on that specifically because the FDA, in accordance with their website, specifically state for that purpose. If there is an advisory committee, the FDA with the independent and opinions and recommendation from outside experts on application to market new drugs and FDA policy, generally FDA takes the advice on the advisory committee, but not always. So their role is just to advise. Still, the government prevails.
Yeah, pero ang point nga niya, ang suggestion of Attorney Aaron, which
Yeah.
I think we should, that is why I want to discuss, is that dapat hindi nga advisory. Yun yung point niya eh. Yung point niya, sa ngayon, it's advisory eh.
Is that your point?
That's the
Yes,
point.
yes, Your Honor. That's my
Oh,
point.
that was the
But
point eh.
this is the policy of the FDA. So, well, it's hard, no? Kasi we are in the government. So,
For future legislation naman po kasi.
Ah?
Yung
Yes, ang
suggestion-
sinasabi niya, tama na yung ngayon. Wala na tayong magagawa. Yan na yung. Pero sinasabi nila, for future, sana i-take kasama sila sa decision making. Ang query is, paano kung iba yung decision ng assessment to private, iba yung sa government? Yun yung magiging issue
At
if
least,
we follow that advice.
sir, at least in that situation, mas better yung position ng public eh. So even if mag-prevail pa rin yung government, at
But
least
the
there's...
public is not only the mere individual.
Yes,
The
Your Honor.
public is the paying taxpayer.
Yes, Your
And that is the multitude of Filipinos. That we have to protect also the taxpayers. Exactly. Yun yung point dyan eh.
and
That is why we need an
Yeah.
objective standard.
the position of my co-chair is right, and that's the purpose of the government. And the view of our public is always maintained by the government. But at the end of the day, it is always the government who will decide. For that matter, no, I disagree with the position of Attorney Aaron on that. No, precisely, we listen to the public sentiments, but as always, it is always the decision of the legislative or the implementing branch of government who will matters. Okay, the chair would like to
Mr. Chair.
acknowledge the presence of Congressman Wilter Palma, our Deputy Majority Leader. So,
Can I make a suggestion, Mr. Chair?
sige, Mr. Perlas, and then,
Can I make a suggestion on that kind of dilemma?
okay, go ahead.
Because before, when I was still a technical advisor at the Senate, we filed a case against Westinghouse for fraud in the Bataan nuclear plant, and it was brought to arbitration. And in the process of two parties that are conflicting, they would both appoint, they would choose to agree on the third party that would decide on their conflicting points.
Yeah, that's another avenue of resolving the issue.
No, exactly.
Yeah, that we can go straight to the Supreme Court or to the court to decide on
Oh.
that matter.
No,
But issues like this can be settled on the level of the implementing agency.
or
Or
the choice of putting not necessarily going to court, but
yeah,
choosing a third person that's
correct.
agreed to by both parties.
Yes, that's correct. Okay,
Thank you,
Yusek
Mr. Chair.
Tayag, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. We want to make a clarification. The National Adverse Event Following Immunization Committee, Your Honor, is an independent body and it's composed of health experts from specific representing specific disciplines, and this is now composed of a mix of health experts from the public and private sector, Your Honor.
Attorney Aaron, that is their explanation. So wala na problema.
Actually, sir, nag-FOI kami dyan sa who composes the NIFIC.
Yes.
Hindi nila, that's confidential daw.
Oh, Yusek Tayag.
Nag-FOI kami dyan.
Confidential daw, Yusek. Ano dyan, recommend?
I don't know what was the request because we want to make sure that the NIFIC members, they have to sign a conflict of interest statements, and that there should be no pressure from any entity so that their decisions
So
will
Yusek Tayag,
be...
to shortcut na lang. Once Attorney Aaron or anyone, any Filipino asks for any the composition of this NIFIC or whatever, bibigay po niyan.
Yeah, it's
The
available.
members, you will give it to them.
It's available.
It's available.
Hindi, ang contention kasi nila, co-chair, no? Yusek Tayag is saying that it's available, but kapag
Nag-FOI po kami.
nag-FOI sila, ang laging sagot is,
Not available or confidential.
yeah, okay. So, you
Kanino kayo
kindly check yung
nagsusulat?
kindly check yung Yusek Tayag,
Sa Freedom of
yung
Information.
website, because I have seen yung website, no? And all those documents that they have submitted, that laging sagot nila is
No information available.
no information
or
available,
We do not
and-
gather those data
yes,
or
oo.
is confidential.
So
Actually, we
at least
submitted
maging
the questions and
proactive
answers.
tayo, Yusek Tayag, with regards to the this issue that they're asking for all the pertinent information that need to be answered as well, para at least ma-well inform yung ating mga nagtatanong sa ating department. Can we do that, Yusek Tayag?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Chair,
please.
napakasimple ng request pala.
Yeah.
Just the names of who update lang po siguro Yusek Tayag ng ating mga website, social
Who is responsible for the sa what do you call that? The system that is answering yung mga queries ng ating mga kababayan, especially
public information.
who is heading that department, that unit? Sa DOH yun eh. DOH yun, di ba? DOH yun, kayo sumusulat? Attorney? Sa DOH kayo sumusulat?
DOH kasama po DOH, FDA.
Pero
lahat po ng
usually, ano yung mga
DOH.
DOH?
Sa FOI website po, Freedom of Information website. Tapos, dinidirect nila sa DOH to respond.
Freedom of information kayo
Yes.
nag-go through.
Yes, sir.
Tapos, connecting sa Department of
Kasi yun
Health.
po yung guarantee ni former president na we can access the freedom of information through the website.
Yeah, correct.
Correct.
Pag nagpasok ka sa Freedom of Information, you will be directly accessing yung sa Department of Health.
Yes.
And then the Department of Health,
They're required to
through
answer within
the
15 days.
Freedom of Information, will answer back.
Yeah,
But
they're
their
required-
reply will always be in the negative.
Minsan may reply naman, they cite studies from abroad, not in the Philippines.
Oh, yeah.
No, but with respect to the
Ah.
composition ng board na ito, that is the issue that you brought forth.
Yes.
Sinabi nila sa inyo, confidential yun?
Yes.
Yun ang sagot.
Okay. Alright, sige. Siguro puntahan muna natin ang yung Commission on Human Rights, no? Kasi nandito naman yung Sir, how many issue or cases have been filed in relation to the violation of yung karapatan ng ating mga tao that have been affected by this adverse effect after the immunization? Meron ba?
Yes.
Kasi it was mentioned by Attorney Lat in the last hearing that you have filed, no? Ata, dito sa human rights.
Yes.
Tanongin muna natin si bago Have you filed mga cases sa human rights?
So just to clarify, Mr. Chairman, so there was a case filed with the Supreme Court, and then we created a reporting mechanism because people did not know how to access the Commission on Human Rights. And so we wrote to the Commission on Human Rights and set up an online mechanism whereby the CHR could receive complaints directly from people. And so in the course of that, they received around 495 complaints from people. And this was at the height of the vaccination. This was the period between November 2021 to around January 2022.
All right. So you have the record, Commissioner?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Your Honors. we do confirm receiving a letter from Attorney Lat on January 2022. It was addressed to the Fifth Commission of the Commission on Human Rights, and that the letter is on behalf of the Filipinos who are exercising their rights not to be injected on the experimental COVID. And Attorney Lat provided for a platform which is called Isumbong sa CHR, wherein the private individuals could go through this platform and submit complaints or whatever information which is related to vaccination. Upon receipt of the letter, the Commission on Human Rights, the Fifth Commission, responded to Attorney Lat on January 27, 2022, informing her of the position of the Commission on Human Rights, stating, among others, that there is already an existing online platform which the public could access in submitting their complaints. Although we expressed our appreciation on the efforts of Attorney Lat of creating this online platform, isumbong mo sa CHR. During the course of the COVID, the Commission on Human Rights came up with a National Human Rights Situation Report for 2021 addressing the inequality during the pandemic. It is a 189-page report. Maybe I could ask for the email of the Secretariat so that we could provide this august body of the National Human Rights Situation Report for 2021. Insofar as the cases that was investigated by the Commission on Human Rights, the cases for 2021, we have investigated 1,754 cases, but these cases are not just limited to complaints regarding the vaccination. This pertains to all human rights violation cases filed with the Commission of Human Rights through our own online platform, Your Honors.
Thank you so much. So can you kindly submit to us yung mga documents?
Yes, Your Honor. I'll be asking the Secretariat for an email address where we could forward our 2021 National Human Rights Situation.
Thank you so much. We have invited also the PNP. PNP, the last time, kumakain eh. So working working lunch tayo. DFA andyan eh. Okay, we will be asking them in a while. Can you kindly tell us, kasi meron na naman namatay na PNP eh, na just was reported to me that a 41-year-old or something na bata yung namatay. So, di ba naman namamatay na mga PNP natin that because wala naman daw reason, bigla na lang namamatay, basketball, tapos ganun. Can you kindly confirm kung may mga gantong mga issues? Kasi nasa akin yung picture ng namatay eh.
I'd like to ask the doctor from the health service.
Kasama niya?
Yes.
Sige, can you kindly tell us yung... kasi ang mahirap dito kapag ang mga PNP na at mga military na inaapektuhan doon sa excess deaths, dumadami yung mga namamatay. Ang problem niyan ba, yung sa security natin, it will may domino effect eh.
Sir, we have no info based on the doctor from the health service. So we still have to get the info on that, sir.
Submit to us rightly kasi andito meron na ito kapadadala lang sa akin kanina umaga eh. Namatay daw siya, nagkomatos siya, nagpanyuro siya kahapon tapos suddenly bumaksak, nagkomatos tapos namatay kanina umaga. So young. Well, hindi pa naman sinasabi kung may correlation sa vaccine. But of course, we are being worried kasi yung mga namamatay is so young and active. Yung iba mga athlete pa. biglang natutumba. So, well, we are not trying to say that merong correlation. But of course, nagwo-worry ka lang. Yusek Tayag, please.
Okay. Sir, earlier the request information on the Attorney Sogilon's question on the members of the NAFIC, we acted on it speedily. So in-access namin yung FOI website ng DOH. The request was successful. In fact, nakalagay rito, your FOI request is approved. This was dated September 23, 2022, and he can check for it. You're approved. We attached the data on the NAFIC committee members and the list of recommendations
Oh, Attorney
in
Aaron.
response to your request.
Kindly, may conflicting views na kayo.
In fact, meron pang rito. Kindly accomplish the FOI request feedback form at this link.
Sige, go ahead, Attorney Aaron.
Hindi ko alam kung yun yung request ko before, Your Honor. Usually, when they answer successful, they answered, but they did not give the data. That's the problem.
So in
they
other words,
answered.
can you kindly tell us, Yusek Tayag, kung merong data that was sent to
Binigay,
them?
sir. Binigay sa kanya.
Sandali.
So you have to check your email.
For example, Your Honor, no. So these are the list of the FOI questions that we submitted.
Sige.
All of these are successful, but the answer is we do not gather the information on the vaccine.
Can you kindly submit to us para makita natin and pakita nga natin sa DOH para at least lahat na ng mga questions nyo will be answered back through FOI. Kasi, well, meron silang allegation that they are answering it as well, but, ma'am, yes.
Yes, Attorney Bello. Mr.
Attorney Bello, go
Chair,
ahead.
incidentally, now that we are on the matter of the FOI, we would just like to report that the FOI portal has been down for the past 3 months. 3 or 4 months under the reason that it's under maintenance. Yeah, mga 3 months po.
Yeah.
The problem is that one of our volunteers tried to access it. Parang bungi-bungi po yung na-access, no? And then all his previous requests are no longer there. And there are records of requests that are under his name but were not his requests. So I know this is an initiative of the executive
Yeah.
department, but we would appreciate if by some reason you could because this is very crucial. This is what allowed the private citizens to gather important information over the past 3 years. And it's no longer accessible as of now. If it's just a technical maintenance, it should not take 3 months.
Ano siya, successful yung successful siya, but the problem is the reply sometimes. We regret to inform you that we do not gather data on this request. Sometimes, ang mga request nila, i-refer ka sa ganun. So, it's part of the freedom of information, I believe, no? But yung complete data of submission to the query, yung ng mga nag-avail, somehow, I think this is a part of their incomplete responsibility. Kung yung mga data is wala sa kanila talaga, o nasa kanila but they're withholding it, well, can go against sa kanila, di ba? But somehow, I think they are answering back but not completely.
Sir, yung
So,
successful kasi
palagi ko, Tony Aaron, I'll give it to them, no, para for the perusal. Okay lang sa inyo?
Yes.
You have a copy for this, right?
May record naman po.
Sige, Attorney Aaron.
I think yung successful doon is if they responded or not. Kasi yung partially responded, kung if they answered all the questions, sometimes ang query kasi namin, hindi more than one question. So magiging partially successful yon or not successful pag hindi nag-respond yung agency. So it will be categorized as successful, not because they gave the answer, but because they responded.
We understand that. So somehow yung nag-respond sila but not detailed, hindi siya nakadetalye yung sagot. Anyway, Okay, so we'll be,
Tanungin ko lang to.
sige, go ahead. May question ka?
Sa PhilHealth, just to wrap up yung portion po ninyo. Correct me if I'm wrong, ang role lang ninyo is to wait for NAFIC or RAFIC to tell you to release. Yun lang. Very ministerial lang ang role ninyo.
Yes po. Yes po, Your Honor.
Okay, so in the event na kunyari, may dumiretso sa inyo to contest what RAFIC or NAFIC did, wala kayong authority. Can any one of them contest it before PhilHealth na releasean nyo kami kahit ayaw ng NAFIC? Is there a process for that?
Honorable Chair, pag alam ko, wala kaming authority. Doc Lem, feel free to comment, please.
So talagang parang talagang release lang kayo. So ang kailangan
Yes po.
nandito is RAFIC or NAFIC present here? Any representative? Is anyone here part of NAFIC or RAFIC? Is anyone here part of NAFIC? Baka may member. Si Bola eh. Yeah, pero marami ang part ng NAFIC, di ba? NAFIC is composed of many individuals. So, is there anyone here who is part of NAFIC? Or kinakabahan kayo kay Chairman Dan? Kaya ay mag-volunteer eh. Yes, habang nagdi-discuss kayo kung may NAFIC member.
Sir, babalikan ko lang pati yung kanina yung pinag-usapan natin na representative from the private at saka public. I think siguro suggestion lang din is to allow accreditation of private practitioners to make the causality assessment. Yung accreditation man lang.
Under the regulations, pwede talagang may advice
Yes.
kayo eh. They're not NAFIC. That's why I want to talk to
Outside
NAFIC.
of the NAFIC and RAFIC.
Oh, out of NAFIC. Pero
Yeah.
nasan sila dito?
Pero I think yung pag-release ng PhilHealth kasi kailangan nanggaling sa NAFIC.
Correct eh. Kaya hindi PhilHealth masyado
Yes.
yung material eh.
Yes.
Yung material dito is
Yung
NAFIC eh.
yung mag-causality assessment.
Yes, oo eh. Kasi assuming na hindi kayo naniniwala sa decision ng NAFIC, can you contest that? May proseso ba sa NAFIC? That is what I want to ask.
Ang sa akin naman po, kung if they're unaccredited na doctors to make the assessment, then dapat i-recognize yung recommendation, yung assessment ng doctor.
Again, yun ang gusto mo lang sa NAFIC eh. Pero ang problema, wala akong makausap na NAFIC eh. Is there anyone from NAFIC? Wala. So Chair, siguro kailangan natin ng NAFIC eh, eventually, di ba? Kasi ang PhilHealth, walang problema eh. Release lang sila eh.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Ledesma.
Mr. Chair, I was just discussing with
Conferring.
my colleague, no. Actually, the patient po can file an MR. So after mag-decide yung NAFIC or whatever FIC,
Oh.
yung pwede po mag-file ng MR yung
Kanino?
pasyente. Actually, Mr. Chair, with your permission, can I ask my colleague to?
Yes, kanino siya magpa-file ng MR? Please state your name and
Yes, sir.
designation.
I'm RC Torres from, I'm the chair of the BICP committee.
Wait. Ano yung BIC committee? Can you kindly state
Vaccine
the
injury
position?
compensation.
Vaccine injury
compensation.
compensation. Okay, go ahead.
After the results of the initial causality assessment of NAFIC or RAFIC muna po, will reach PhilHealth. If it's denied, then
Denied by whom?
by RAFIC.
Oh, but then it will never reach PhilHealth kung denied na.
Hindi po. Kami pa rin po kasi ang magno-notify sa mga members na na-deny po.
Okay.
And then, the member could file an MR and then go back
Kanino
sa
siya
amin.
magpa-file ng MR?
Sa amin po ulit.
Sa PhilHealth?
Sa PhilHealth. And
O sa
PhilHealth,
BICP mo?
sa PhilHealth po ulit.
PhilHealth.
Opo. And then, babalik po namin ngayon yan sa NAFIC na, at the
Okay,
national
ito
level.
ba yung proseso? Una magpa-file sa inyo.
Yes, sir.
Papadala nyo ngayon sa RAFIC o sa NAFIC
Yes,
for
sir.
assessment.
Opo.
Pa-forward ng RAFIC sa inyo,
Yes,
sa
sir.
PhilHealth, kung denied or granted.
Granted.
Kung denied, you will advise now the PhilHealth member denied kayo ng NAFIC or RAFIC.
Yes, sir.
They can file an MR with you,
Yes, sir.
and then you will now return it to
NAFIC. From the national.
Okay, how many days do you give NAFIC for the
Well,
for the MR?
That depends po dun sa respond nila, but initially ang usapan po is within 30 days.
Within 30 days yung una, yung MR 30 days rin.
Yes.
Dapat ma-resolve na yung issue
Yes,
ng
sir.
causality.
Yes, sir.
May question ako. So, ang question ko ganito. Okay, so NAFIC yung nagde-decide at sila rin nagde-decide kung okay or hindi. Who are the members of this NAFIC? Are there, ang composition pa nila, medical doctors, mga expert on the field that ina-applyan ng mga claimants? What are the composition of this NAFIC?
As far as we know, sir, they are experts in their field, but perhaps DOH po would be in a better position to identify them from various fields po of expertise.
Si Yusik Tayag has already mentioned the composition of RAFIC and NAFIC. Di ba, Yusik Tayag? They've already given that. And may private individual practitioners doon, di ba?
Nakuha yung sagot. So, yes, Yusek Tayag.
Yes, Your Honor. In fact, as I mentioned earlier, the list of these members in 2022 was submitted to Attorney Sogolon based on his request. But there was a revision of the composition in just this year, February 2023. It was dated February 13, 2023. Thank you, sir.
So, paano ang assessment na ginagawa? For example, ako, halimbawa, I feel like I'm injured, vaccine injured ako. So, pupunta ako dyan. So, how will they assess my person?
Sir, ang proseso, it starts sa baba before it goes up to the
RAPIC.
national. Yes, sa
Ang
region.
RAPIC is regional.
No, the NAFIC is the national.
No, I mean, yung RAPIC.
National.
Yung RAPIC, ano yung RAPIC?
Regional.
Ayan na nga. That's what I'm trying to
So,
tell
doon
you.
mag-umpisa
Regional.
yun.
Alam mo, Yusek
Regional.
Tayag ako, nakakalata ako, pinaglolo ko mo ako.
Regional.
So,
So,
RAPIC is regional. So, sa regional
yes.
muna. Tapos,
Oo. And
paano nila ina-assess nga yung, like, for example, ako, may
Ah,
problema ako.
May algorithm po. May algorithm. It goes to the algorithm kasi gusto nilang malaman, and there are several categories sa causality. For example, is this really vaccine related?
Yes, oo.
Is this coincidental? Ibig sabihin, nagkataon lang at the same time na may na-report na adverse event, ito pala ay dahilan sa yung pasyente may sakit na mismo.
Okay.
Okay.
So, ang tanong ko doon,
So,
doon sa RAPIC na yan, doon sa region, bawat region natin meron RAPIC. And
Yes.
this is not known
Yes.
by the people. Hindi nila alam.
Yes,
Kaya
po.
nga, pag may namamatay doon o
Yes,
kaya may
po.
nagkakasakit, hindi nila alam. So, saan sa region, sa bawat region natin, matatagpuan itong mga RAPIC na to?
Sa Centers for Health Development po.
Centers for
Yung
Health,
mga regional offices po namin.
DOH.
Opo.
So sa regional office, like for example, sa Region 4A,
Opo.
doon ka pupunta sa Batangas. Parang gano'n ba?
Ang Region 4A po ay nasa Quirino po.
Sa Quirino.
Opo.
So doon So kung
Quirino,
nasa Laguna ako,
Quirino
papupunta mo.
Hindi Quirino Province.
Saan yun?
Sa yung Quirino Memorial Medical Center po.
Dito sa Manila.
Opo.
So Region 4A, kung halimbawa nandito ako sa Quezon, doon ako didiretso para mag-claim talaga. Para
Hindi po.
i-assess ako kung saan.
Hindi po ganun po.
Paano?
Ganito po, lahat ng adverse events nire-report.
Okay.
Okay. Tapos yung adverse events na iyon ay i-assess po sa regional level. Sa regional level, yung causality. Tapos ito po ay kailangan, kung ito ay serious, lalo na death following immunization, iaakyat to sa NAFIC.
Yes. Oo.
Okay. So yung NAFIC, kukunin lahat ng patient records, lahat ng documents available to them so that they can, hindi dito pinapatawag yung kamag-anak or what. It's a paper review.
So it's all documents. In
Yes,
other
sir.
words, kapag naglabas ng FDA nung 113,000 na adverse effect after immunization, ina-assess na ngayon ng NAPIC, ng RAPIC.
Umpisa muna sa baba, tapos
Yes.
sa akyat. Opo.
Okay. Maliwanag na po tayo. So, but unfortunately, out of that 113,000, ang na-indemnify lang natin is almost 2 million lang out of the 500 million pesos. 0.04%.
Total of 88.
Because
claims.
probably people People don't know that we have a procedure or process like this. And this is a good thing that we are discussing this para at least malaman ng mga tao kasi may continuing excess deaths pa ng 2022 saka 2023. Nakita nyo kanina, more than the variation of 5%. So people can rely on our government on this and our oversight power to correct yung process is being enhanced by this committee. Mr. Perlas, sige, go ahead.
Yes, Honorable Chair, I'd just like to ask a question through you to Yusek Tayag, because he mentions the use of algorithms. And I just want him to clarify at what point does the algorithm come in, because algorithms are not necessarily impeccable. There's often bias in the design of the algorithm, as it's already been proven in so many instances. So I just want to see where the interface is of the human doctor, the actual person seeing this person, and an algorithm which on its very basis is the basis of a statistical average, but not necessarily of the actual individual in front of you. The actual individuals tends to disappear.
I agree.
Thank
So
you,
yung
Mr. Chair.
algorithm sometimes is based on product of different
Yes.
data set, no?
Right.
And we decide on that. But yung
Right.
human factor must come in. So parang sinasabi ni Yusek Tayag is all the documents that nakikita nila, doon nila binibase yung pag-approve. But the human interaction with the patients are not being considered. So, Yusek Tayag, anong tingin mo doon? Kasi based on ano lang tayo, the documents that were submitted by the FDA.
Yes, sir. So may
Kaya maliit ang ano natin. Kaya maliit ang resulta natin doon sa nire-release na indemnity fund because we are just basing on all the documents, not on the interaction with the claimants themselves. Siguro, kailangan siguro merong ganung factor ng processing.
That is why, sir, tama yung ano kanina, if they can be invited so that they can explain yung proseso po nila.
Correct. But of course, wag ano ba yung IRR nyo ba yun? Kasi I think you have to change that Hindi naman nakabase yan sa batas na dapat siguro yung mag-indemnify. Dapat nakikita talaga nila yung mga tao na
we can learn from the NAFIC mismo kung yes, yung proseso.
Okay, sige. Okay, attorney then Aaron, so mamaya we'll proceed sa DFA.
Sir, I think the first syempre important yung recommendation ng NAFIC, pero the best person to make a recommendation on the causality of the victim. Kung meron siyang family doctor, yung personal, kasi personal relationship ang patient and doctor
So partly, kailangan kasama yon.
Oo. Kasi yung family history noon, tapos yung
siguro that can be considered as well, no? Di ba yung
mas kilala nung doctor niya, yung patient. So alam niya kung ano yung nag-intervene na pwedeng pinaka-possible na nag-cause nung
That's correct.
whatever.
I think Yusek Tayag, we can consider that as well. Hindi, I mean, being a Yusek of the Department of Health.
We want to remove bias. That's why na ganun lang.
Kaya inaalis niyo yung pamilya.
Yes, of course.
Hindi naman kapamilya yung doktor
Kahit na so.
Kasi meron relationship.
Oo naman.
May license naman doon.
We wanted to make it independent, kaya nga mix yun ng public at private po. In fact, they have to sign a conflict of interest.
Kasi kapag doktor niya, sasabihin na lang na related sa niya.
Yes.
But of course, you have to base it on your own
That's why, sir, if they're invited next time in NAFIC, para they can...
Oo nga Pero tama rin siya sabi ni Mr. Perlas that yung algorithm, hindi lang tayo dapat nagbe-base doon. Talagang nagbe-base tayo sa human interaction.
I'm sure po yung NAFIC will provide yan on the aside
But for
from
the
algorithm.
meantime, discuss it on your own, on your own perusal. I mean,
pararating na po namin sa kanila.
Parang on your own volition kasi pag lahat yan, iano natin sa discussion ng committee. Wala na kami madidiscuss na ibang issue dito. So, do your work and we will do ours. As well. Secretary,
Former
Secretary Duque,
Doctor
please.
na lang, sir.
Okay, sige. Okay.
Yung pong batas, Section 7, the law authorizes the Health Technology Assessment Council to make recommendations to the DOH insofar as the vaccines will be adopted by the DOH based on the preliminary data of phase 3 clinical trials. That's the first condition. The second condition before it can make the recommendation is there has to be a WHO recommendation as well. So dalawa yung conditions set in the law.
Yes.
So this might look attractive to our lawmakers to see if there is no more need for that WHO recommendation and just rely on our local health technology advisory council that makes the recommendation. Anyway, they're vetted. They're all, creme de la creme of yung mga experts who constitute the HTAG, unassailable integrity and really competence. So baka lang, my humble suggestion is to look into this as a potential amendment to that provision. Of
Actually,
the law.
that is correct. Nagkaroon pa ng dual recommendation So tanggalin na natin yung recommendation ng WHO. Dapat nga tanggalin na natin lahat ng recommendation nila na hold tayo sa decision nila without asking the legislative branch of this government approval. And syempre, yung health protocol natin must be addressed by the legislative branch of this government, not by the WHO. Yun yung gusto nating i-tackle dito, that we decide on our own health protocol. Anyway,
Mr.
sige.
Chair, apropos to your comment,
Sige, Mr. Perlas.
there is in the RA 11525 the provision that they actually refer back to reference agencies. So most of the time, they would use outside foreign agencies to base a DOH decision because we do not have the internal capacity to make those our own scientific procedures. So there's a lot of reliance. Reference agencies, reliance agencies. There's an annex. Yeah.
Ganun ba tayo incapacitated? I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Will you agree, Yusek Tayag, former secretary? Siguro. Yusek Tayag, are we incapacitated with all this kind of of tackling issues on our own? That we have to rely on the WHO all the time?
For example, the NAFIG, while it is based on existing guidelines ng WHO, it remains independent because the NAFIG was created so that the experts will discuss thoroughly the case for determining the causality.
That's good sense. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, in connection with that.
Okay, go ahead. Last.
With your permission.
Go ahead.
For example, like Pfizer, I know this because I did a freedom of information request from the DOH. They gave me certain documents, and almost everything there was referring to Pfizer. But then Pfizer was litigated because of fraud in their trials, in their clinical trials. And as already mentioned by Attorney Lat earlier, they wanted to hide this data for 75 years. And the court forced them to release the data, and lo and behold, there were 1,292 different adverse effects by the COVID vaccines that they were trying to hide. And different kinds.
And you were able to get this data from
yeah, we were able to get it from
where?
From the US. It was released.
Can you kindly submit that to this
okay, we'll be happy to do it. Yeah.
For us to validate your claim that there
Yes.
was adverse
Yeah.
effect
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll do that.
on Pfizer. And if that is true, really we have to be worried about.
Exactly, because that has a connection to also the established verified ratio of death.
Wala na questions. So we'll be excusing former Secretary Duque because this representation have no questions for him anymore. And you want to say something, Mr. Ledesma? So punta muna tayo sa DFA. We are about to be done with the hearing as well, unless there is a question from the members. So DFA, Anong policy natin pagdating po dito sa ano sa ating pong what do you call that? Are you aware of the pandemic treaty that will be discussed
Yes, sir. It's
sa
being,
WHO? Can you kindly update us?
So, sir, in the last World
Please
Health,
excuse me.
yes, sir.
We will be
For
taking
the-
your oath. No? The
okay.
COMSEC is by directed to take the oath of the research speaker.
Deputy ASEC, please stand. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this inquiry? I do.
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please take your seat.
Go ahead. Tell us something about this pandemic treaty that is being talked about in the whole world.
Sir, yes. During the last World Health Assembly, there was this agreement among all of the member states to come up with. They don't call it a treaty; it's just a nickname. It has a very long title. We call it CA Plus because it's an international accord agreement. Kasi at this stage po, hindi pa talaga alam kung magiging convention or any international parang agreement on pandemic preparedness and response. So a lot of people want to make it a treaty para maging mas may strength siya, no. May mga bagay po kasi na convention lang. Kapag convention, as the name suggests, convention lang siya. Parang you may or may not follow it. Usually pag treaties po, yung mga tratado na pinapasok natin, dumadaan po yun through ratification by the executive and then concurrence by the Senate. So kung magiging treaty po siya, yun po yung magiging path niya.
Okay, so were you able also to read the 307 amendments that was proposed?
Sir, I
doon
think
sa-
the 307
Wait, I'm still talking.
sorry po.
Unless the chair is still talking, you cannot interrupt. Just to remind the research speaker, no? Okay, so this sa 307 amendments that was adopted, no, noong May 2022. It will be discussed on the UN Assembly by the WHO on May 2024. Are you knowledgeable about the 307 amendments?
Sir, thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe, sir, the 300 plus amendments that was being referred to is for the international health regulations, which is, I think, a separate negotiation from the pandemic treaty.
Yeah, no. It will be a part of the pandemic treaty. You were telling us that parang pangalan lang yung pandemic treaty because nga I think and I believe the reason why they don't want to call it pandemic treaty anymore because namagnify na yan sa media eh. And by doing so, if pandemic treaty yan at gagamitin sa buong mundo, it will pass through the Senate. But since now that it being exposed, no, to the different parliamentarians, yung treaty is not feasible anymore, and that's the reason why they wanted to make convention or agreement. Because if that is only agreement, that will not pass through the Senate. And the 307 amendments, yung composition nun, maraming unacceptable. As far as this committee is concerned, marami dito na unacceptable. And that's the reason why we invited the Department of Foreign Affairs to, on behalf ng legislative work that we are doing in here, dapat malaman po ninyo kung ano yung take ng ating government pagdating dito sa mga amendments that we will all be binded with the health protocol in the different kind of pandemics that they will be issuing. And according to Article 45, the infodemic na kung saan things like this cannot be discussed anymore, basta disinformation or whatever, di ba? So kindly give us a direct answer on all these amendments that we will be discussed on May 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, because as far as I swore to tell, to truth to the best of my knowledge, and to the best of my knowledge, sure, the amendments that are being referred to, as far as the discussions here is concerned, are for the international health regulations, which is a set of regulations that are already existing.
the pandemic treaty, sir, is a text that is basically wala pa pong pwedeng maging amendment doon because the treaty has not been finalized yet.
Okay, so what you're trying to tell us is yung international health regulation doon sa time no ng period of amendments and the period of ratification. Yun sa IHR, sa International Health Regulation. I agree with that, no. And itong 307 amendments also must be of interest sa Department of Foreign Affairs. Kailangan tignan nyo na rin po to together with the DOH para kasi nga we cannot cannot invite the WHO yung representative nila That's the reason why we are having a hard time to discuss those amendments para at least malaman natin kung disadvantageous or advantageous sa government natin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So in the next unless Congressman Chair, you have question
Yes.
to our resource speaker.
Yes. O una, Yusek Tayag, para sure tayo. Sino nagde-decide itong mga amendments, the 300 being referred, in substance, who will decide if we accept that or we don't accept that? Is it DOH or is it DFA?
Sir,
or any other agency in
okay.
government?
Thank you, Your Honor. Unang-una, I'm confirming now na magkaiba yung IHR amendments doon sa
The pandemic treaty being referred.
yes, pandemic treaty na tinawag yun na WHOCA plus C to refer to convention, A or agreement, plus or any instrumentalities kasi under negotiation pa po ito ay
Yes.
treaty,
We
convention,
understand
or
that, Yusek
agreement.
Tayag. So we're referring to the amendments for the IHR that are being
Okay,
discussed.
there is a working group on the international health regulations. Sila yung tumatanggap lahat ng proposed amendments
From
dun
the
sa
Philippine side, sino sa Philippines ang magdi-decide if we are going to reject, approve, or end lahat ng, do we have a choice or sinasabi mo wala tayong
sa
choice?
discussion, Your Honor, so inimbita yung mga member states,
Yes.
several meetings yan, may isa pa silang meeting
Yes.
bago yung sa May.
Yes.
So dinidiscuss nila yon, and then the working group will decide which goes to the World Health Assembly in May.
Yes, but on the Philippine side, magpapadala tayong representative doon?
Opo.
Yes. Who will be sent? Who is the Philippine delegation?
Sa ngayon po yung Epidemiology Bureau, yung director, at saka yung
So the person in
IHL
Switzerland
focal
right
point.
now, or saan ba siya?
Ngayon po, pandemic treaty yung discussion.
No, I know. I'm talking about yung 300 plus amendments. Doon na lang tayo. Please forget about the pandemic. Okay na tayo dyan. We're talking about the amendments lang. Sino ang magdi-decide kung tatanggapin ng Pilipinas yung ano yung stand ng Pilipinas dyan? Who in the Philippines will decide?
Okay. Sir, if you will allow me, kasi nagkataon, nandito yung isa sa uma-attend doon.
Sige.
Okay, and she
will be the
she
one
can tell us
Sige.
how the process goes kung if they give their comments or
Sige.
proposals doon sa
Who will this person be?
si Richelle Abellera po of
Ay,
the
Richelle?
Epidemiology
Richelle,
Bureau.
ka.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes. Richelle, kailangan pa ba natin? Magsasabi ka naman ng totoo siguro. Okay naman siguro, di ba? Hi, Richelle. Para direction lang tayo sa usapin. So, ano ang who in the Philippines will decide if all these amendments or any of these amendments are acceptable or not acceptable? Or wala tayong choice?
Hindi naman po sa wala po tayong choice. No? Unahin ko lang po yung sa proseso na currently kinakandak nga po ng working group on the IHR amendments po. No? So currently po, yung mga amendments po na yon ay on the floor for discussion kung saan nagko-comment po yung iba't ibang bansa. For the Philippines po, dahil currently ongoing pa naman po yung discussion, so yung mga delegates po na nag-a-attend po sa working group on amendments, yung nagko-comment. No?
Okay.
Wala pa po tayo dun sa part na kung i-accept po or
Sige. Okay, we understand.
hindi
So,
po.
nandun
Yes
tayo sa commenting na
Yes po. So sa
Yes.
commenting po na yon, ang mga nag-a-attend po or part po ng delegation ng Pilipinas, una po ay representatives from the Epidemiology Bureau po, bilang tayo po yung National IHR focal point. And at the same time, meron din po tayong representatives within the DOH din po from the Bureau of International Health Regulations, from the Bureau of Quarantine, because some of the articles po no pertains to the points of entry. And also from the legal service po no last meeting po nung February, meron po tayong representatives from the legal service. And at the same time, so yung mga comments po natin, sineshare po natin yun no with the DFA po, because the discussions also pertains to international affairs po no. So we share po the inputs po, technical inputs po no of the office.
Philippine
Yes po.
delegation.
Yes, with the DFA no.
Yes.
Bago po natin yun sineshare doon sa floor po ng
Yes.
WGIHR. Now po, yung package po for amendments, kasi hindi pa po final itong 300 plus amendments no. Yung final package po will be presented to the 77th World Health Assembly coming May 2004 this year po.
Yes.
So doon po yung delegation po na nagre-represent sa Philippines mo comes from the Department of Health. Last year po, I'm not particularly sure, pero ang alam ko meron pong ibang kasama from
I'm
So,
sorry,
i-confirm-
I'm sorry. I wanted to cut you short.
Apo,
No?
sure.
I hope you don't mind.
Apo, apo.
Kasi I got this on the website. No?
Apo.
I'm going to give it to you para at least you are knowledgeable as well. No? Kasi dito nakalagay yung international regulations natin. Yung nagkaroon na nung World Health Assembly natin, di ba, nung 2022. February 6, 2023, amendments by country. So, meron na ring amendments that was considered by the different countries. And I read that nabasa ko yung mga different amendments ng Bulgaria, ng Malaysia, ng wala tayong amendments that na ibinigay.
In-accept natin lahat.
Kumbaga, no take tayo wala tayong ginawa So February 6, 2023, amendments naman by article. By article yung tinapik nila. And by February 6, 2023, yung International Health Regulation Review Committee final report. Final report. February 9, 2024, updated amendments. Okay? And that will be discussed on May 2024. So ngayon, sinasabi mo sa akin that pupunta kayo doon, tapos mag-uusap-usap kayo ng mga amendments. Tapos na, kapatid. Tapos na. Ito na. May final updated amendments nga on February 9, 2024. And come to think of this, no? Ngayon is March, di ba? O tapos April na. O tapos May na. How can you discuss the amendments of so many amendments, 307 amendments, kung magsisimula lang kayo sa May? That is not possible. So, I will give you to Michelle.
Yes,
Bibigay ko sa iyo to.
Sure po.
Pag-aralan ninyo. At kung may magagawa pa tayo, tell us.
Sure po.
Kasi ang problem, kung that will be ratified or adopted by May, saan tayo pupulutin doon? Di ba? We never been given the proper information about this. Kaya nga coordinate with the Department of Foreign Affairs. Kasi yan ang problem
Kaya nga,
Co-chair,
but let's
di ba?
give Rochelle the chance. Kasi iba yung sinabi niya sa sinabi mo
Sige
Kaya
po.
nga That's the reason why nang nagsasalita ka, binabasa ko yung mga
Bakit
pinatna
ganun?
kita. Kasi
Sige.
sinasabi mo magkakaroon ng World Health Assembly sa 2024. But meron na silang final amendments updated noong February 9.
Wa-
Yan. Pakibigay sa kayo.
Yes po, no. Wala pa pong final package for the amendments. The 300 po are proposed amendments po, no. Not the final package po to be presented during the 77th.
Kasi yung report nila, yan sa huling-huli, yung final updated amendments on February, I think February 9 yan, 2023. So nagkaroon na sila ng final updated, final. So ano ibig sabihin ng final? Final, di ba? So kung meron na silang final amendments, di ba? So I think it's incumbent upon us to know what are those amendments that have been finalized and
Yeah.
updated.
Your Honors, maybe the Department of Health po, no, can share with you yung official document from the WHO about the
That is
timelines
not
po.
official. Para lang sure tayo,
no,
hindi official yan.
no po.
That is
Hindi po
not
ito
official.
yung official website po ng WHO po.
Okay, so kung yan hindi official na, next time na pinatawag ka namin dito, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Ha? Kasi the last time na nagsalita rito si Yusek Tayag, kinonfirm niya yung mga sinasabi ko.
With regards po sa timeline po, no, I will provide you po yung official po.
Richelle
Yes
Abelera,
po.
ha?
I will also-
We will meet again. We will
Yes.
meet again. Kasi kung hindi mo mapatunayan yung mga yung sinabi mo, and I can prove my allegation, then
Sige po.
I do not doubt you, but I will ask first, Richelle. Richelle,
Yes
so
po.
sino mag-decide? Final decision. Assuming tama yung sa'yo.
Apo, no. Bali, dun po sa 77th World Health Assembly po happening
May.
in May
Yes.
2024 kung saan po no ipe-present yung final package for the
Yes.
IHR amendments. Ang magmamanifest po ng posisyon ng Pilipinas would be the delegates po of the Philippines coming from the Department of Health, but hindi lang po ako
Oh, with
particular
DFA.
dun sa yes, yung position po should be concurred po no with the
Okay.
DFA.
So i-manifest doon. Then what happens next?
And then po, sa pagkakaalam ko, dahil regulations po ito, no, bawat manifestation po of support of the countries will be counted, and kapag naka 2/3 po of votes,
Sige, ano stand ng ano ngayon ng Manila? What is the stand of the Philippines? Kasi magma-manifest na pala sa May. So napag-aralan niyo na by now kasi March, April, May na. So what is the stand of the Philippine delegation, the Philippines?
Apo, sir, dahil wala pa pong final package of amendments and meron pa pong natitirang isang meeting po no coming April. So,
So pagdating noon
parang-
sa April, babasahin niyo yon.
after April
Who
po,
will make the decision kung magma-manifest tayo na supporter na?
it will be the Department of Health po together with other concerning agencies po depending do sa mga
So ang
articles po
Secretary of Health natin.
ang magmamanifest.
Hindi,
Ay,
but
sorry.
will make the decision.
Yes
that,
po.
kung mag-object tayo o will manifest support.
Yes po, but again po with the concurrence po no of the DFA din.
Na-interject ko ulit, kasi sinabi nyo na hindi to
Official.
official. I just like to remind you that these are all official because kinuwang sources na to sa International Health Regulation, World Health Assembly. Ayan, no? So, andito ang link, kaya nga binigay ko sa inyo. Basahin nyo to. Basahin nyo kasi hindi yung official to eh. Sige, bigyan na lang uli.
Bigyan natin
So,
ulit.
i-check nyo mabuti mamayang gabi. Pag-aralan mo to, Richelle, call me tomorrow para hindi na kita patatawag kasi pag
Sige.
Your Honor.
pag
Pero Ma'am
napahiya na
Richelle,
naman kayo.
you will the Secretary of Health will make the decision based on the recommendations of that of the expert group by April.
Yes po.
Tapos may ma-manifest yun sa May.
Yes po.
Anong role ng DFA? Because according to the letter, may technical pa kayong technical assistance sa Department of Foreign Affairs.
Ito pong letter po ngayon na binigay po ni Yusek Tayag.
Yes.
Tama po. Bali, we are in the assumption po kasi na last hearing, ang nire-request po is yung official position of the Philippines doon sa 300 amendments. So, since ongoing pa po yung
So wala pa yun
negotiations.
because may April
yes.
pa. Alright. So Yusek Tayag, you will be on top of this. Ang amin lang naman, dapat lang sigurado natin alam ng buong DOH family yung nangyayari. Alam nila kung ano yung ina-assent natin o hindi. Yun lang naman para pagdating niyo dito, masagot nyo kami na kapag aralan ng DOH, we believe kailangan tayong mag-manifest ng support. Yun ang kailangan namin sagot eh.
Salamat, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Saka, may I remind everybody, we are not against each other. We are all together in here. What we wanted is to protect our Filipino people. We want to make it right kung may mga mali. At kung wala namang mali, tuloy natin. Di ba? Yun lang naman sa atin eh. As a matter of fact, kaya tayo nagkakaroon ng katulad yan. Makikita ko ngayon. Kaya sabi ko nga kay tingnan na yung link right now and right here, para makita natin kung tama yan ng mali. Kung mali yan, I'm sorry, mali ako. Pero kung tama yan, say sorry sa akin. Sige, go ahead. Attorney.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, under the one of the articles of the International Health Regulations, 55, I believe, no, That article provides that any proposed amendments to the regulations must be submitted to the member states at least 4 months prior to the assembly where it will be taken up, no, for accession by the member states. So if the World Health Assembly is in May of this year, the proposed amendment should have already been received by our country in January of this year, because the World Health Assembly is on May 27 to June, the first week of June, I believe. So it's a bit disturbing that it's already March and there are already just 2 months prior to the World Health Assembly, and the manifestation of our official representatives is that there is no final package. So by that fact itself, the World Health Organization has already violated its own regulations by not following the procedure, because that is an acknowledgement that it takes time, Your Honors, for nations to study the proposed amendments. So if this will be taken up in May, these should be considered void actually, because they were not submitted in accordance with their own rules.
Actually kasi ano yan, attorney, ano, co-chair, no? Parang ganito yan eh, parang sa amin dito sa Congress. So we do the hard work in the committee level, like this. And then yung kung ano man mapag-usapan namin for adoption in the plenary, it's just a ministerial, ano, not ministerial, we discuss it also in the plenary. A little of debate and everything, and then after that, we will adopt it. So, ganun din yung amendments na yan. It's being discussed on the level of a committee level, and then it will be brought up on a plenary on May 2024. And that's the reason why I'm trying to tell you that na medyo ano na naman sila, naliligaw na naman sila ng landas. No, that dapat yun, tama yun, kasi I read that as well, that 4 months prior to that date of the World Health Assembly or the convening of these members, dapat alam na ng member state. And today is already March. Next week, April na, tapos May na. Oh, so there's no room for discussion anymore. Anyway, tapusin na natin yan. So it's
Mr. Chair.
masyado na malalim yung usapan dyan.
Mr. Chair.
Finish that, no? Gusto ko gusto ko makita kung mali ako, tama ako. Ha? Anyway, so somebody is trying to raise his hand. Okay, Mr. Perlas.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just want to mention to the delegate that's going to the WHO treaty that she doesn't have to wait for the 307 amendments, because clearly in the existing documents, there are a number of very problematic provisions of those amendments that they can already flag. For example, it will intensify the power of WHO for censorship, Annex 1. It will change the WHO from advisory to mandatory, Article 2 and Article 42. They can declare potential pandemics, Article 2. It removes respect for dignity, human rights, and fundamental freedoms of people, Article 3. And enforce global health certificates, vaccine passport, digital IDs, Articles 18, 23, 24, 27, 28, 31, 35, 36, 44, Annexes 6 and 8. And it will override the sovereignty of nations, because the WHO emergency committee that's being proposed in the IHR will make the final decision, not the states. So this is goodbye to our sovereignty, because the Senate has no role, the House has no role, the President of the Philippines has no role. The WHO will make the decision when there's a posted health emergency, but then they can do that with a potential pandemic that they will declare.
Yeah, and we have discussed that thoroughly, in the last hearing.
Yeah.
Those amendments that are so crucial for all of us. We discussed that you have mentioned. So thank you so much, Mr. Perlas, on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yusek Tayan?
We will repeat it again and again. There are no amendments yet. There's another discussion sa April. Yes, but hindi pa yan yung final. Under ano pa yan, dinidiscuss pa yan.
Yusek
We
Tayan,
already-
you're being so emotional.
Hindi sir, kasi kanina napaliwanag nyo na, tinulungan nyo kami na pinaliwanag naman ni
Okay.
Richelle
Okay.
yung final package. So ibig sabihin, lahat ng mababasa nyo, hindi pa yun.
All right.
Okay.
So, I believe that the final version or updated amendments, tingnan natin tung sa May 2024, no? And I tried telling them to try to look at it, ano? Kung talaga nangyari ang February 9 and February 11, no? For us to be updated as well. So, punta muna tayo sa ano, para matapos muna itong issue kasi hindi natin matatapos yan hanggang hindi natin nakikita yung finality nun. So, PNP. So, kasi meron tayong nirecord doon na nagkaroon ng myocarditis. Ano? So, sa bilang ba ninyo sa PNP, meron pang additional na mga members. Kasi ang dami kong, lagi ako naghihiring sa mga pulis eh. Sinasabi nila yung mga namamatay eh. Pag tuwing naghihiring kami, laging may report sa akin may namamatay. Eh baka maubusan tayo ng PNP yan.
Yes, Your Honors. Unfortunately, I'm speaking in behalf of the forensic group. We only acquire the case if those deaths were referred to us for autopsy. So
Okay.
if they're not referred for autopsy, we do not know
right.
those deaths.
Pero sa autopsy, meron kang yung na-refer sa inyo for autopsy. Anong result?
Sa PNP, sir, wala, we did not get any request for autopsy. The one that I autopsied is from Bureau of Fire, undergoing training and suddenly died due to myocarditis.
So
Bureau of Fire,
ilan taon siya?
BFP, around 30 years old.
No history.
Yes, no. Apparently, cleared siya for medical because he was cleared for training. But
Yes.
during training, few days, he suddenly died.
O katulad niyan, PhilHealth, katulad niyan, mga pulis natin namatay. Can they claim? Ha? Ayun, si Congressman na ako. Dumating na si Vice Chair. Sakto. We welcome you, sir. Thank you for coming over. And siguro, can we claim?
Yes, Your Honor.
O katulad na, kasi katulad niya, myocarditis siya, walang history yan. Pare. Sige, dapat yung mga ganyang issue dapat eh. Kasi hindi nila alam eh, no? Hindi nyo alam
Yes,
eh. No?
Your Honor. So we will refer the case. I will ask the wife to claim
Oo,
for
yeah,
for
kasi
possible
kawawa naman yung mga
vaccine-related injury.
mga siblings niyan eh, if ever, di ba? Okay. So punta na tayo sa PAW. Andito yung PAW eh. We invited them over.
Your Honor.
Ay, sige, Mr. Ledesma.
No, just quickly, Your Honor. Yeah. Regarding your earlier question, no. So, as Your Honor, as long as they file the claims, PhilHealth will process it po.
Yeah, okay.
So, pwede po.
Sige, coordinate na lang with the group. Ano? I hope that magkakaroon na kayo ng coordination with each other. No?
Yes po, I gave them my business cards already po. We will work very closely with them po. Promise yan po.
And even the processing must be shortened, ano, para at least. Pero without damaging yung ating also yung ating rules and regulations.
Of course po.
All right. So, Pao.
Afternoon, Your Honors.
Yes, sa inyo kasi si Acosta, di ba? Si Acosta ba yung inyong head? Si Ma'am?
Yes po, Chief Persida Acosta.
So,
unfortunately, Your Honor, she would like to extend her utmost apology for not being able to
hindi,
attend this.
natanggap ko yung kanyang ng reason niya, no? And all the tickets that was attached on the letter. So sa side ninyo, marami kayo na-encounter na ganito according to the reports that I gotten, medyo marami kayo na-encounter.
Your Honor, with respect to the COVID-19 response by the DOH, we received requests for legal assistance against the expansion of the COVID-19 vaccination program to the pediatric population and also against the indirect mandatory vaccination.
Meaning?
We currently filed the case against the DOH for seeking for the nullity of DOH Department Order number 2022-0041 on the basis of Firstly, there was a parents patrie provision in the department order, which was later rescinded by the DOH.
So you withdraw the case?
No, because another ground for our case was the expansion of the COVID-19 vaccination program to the pediatric population, which in our opinion is against Republic Act 11525, specifically sections 4 and 5.
Sige,
Because
asan yung case nasa iyo ba?
I believe, Your Honors, we already submitted a copy of
Sige, we
last
will
November 2023
we'll check about it yung
of the
final
case
nyo.
files. Your
So kailan pinalto ng PAO?
February 2023. Your Honor.
2023.
Ay, 2022, Your Honors.
Against resolution number?
Against DOH Department Order 2022-0041.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. Unless members would like to ask, wala na. Punta tayo sa sa Commission on Population and Development. Ma'am, we have invited you over kasi nakita namin yung yung dami ng mga namatay doon sa PSA, according sa PSA, no. And accordingly, I have seen also yung sa birth rate. Sa birth rate, bumaba eh. Nagkaroon ng sudden reduction as well eh. So can you kindly explain to us the reason why nagkaroon ng mga sudden decrease of birth?
Yes, Your Honor, the Commission on Population and Development has been monitoring births and especially maternal deaths, Your Honor. As to the birth registration, we find that one cause could be the lockdowns, and so filing of birth registration may have been limited because our citizens are not able to go to local civil registrars.
Because-
But I believe,
Yeah.
yes,
Go
Your
ahead,
Honor.
ma'am. Go ahead.
But I believe that after the pandemic, we see more compliance to birth registration on time.
Kasi we need to be clarified on this kasi makita ko yung data na bumaba nung 2021 tapos 22 tapos nag-increase na uli siya from 1.6 ata bumaba siya ng 1.3 or 1.2 or something. And nag-worry ako baka kasi I have read an article that yung vaccine nakaka-apekto doon sa birth ng babae. So hindi ko siya kino-correlate right away, but that's the reason why I really wanted to ask you kung anong reason. So pero hindi naman siguro lahat 'yun. 'Yun ang reason, yung hindi sila nakapag-register ng kanilang mga birth ng kanilang mga anak. Are these how can you find out that these are all based on non-registration?
Actually, Your Honor, because of the new results of PSA, we find that births are registered back again, and I believe that there are late registrations.
Ayan kasi nakita ko ma'am, tinan mo. Ayan yan yung nakita ko pinadala nyo eh. Ang birth rate natin 1.7, 1.7, 1.7, 1.6, 1.6. Then suddenly on 2021 naging 1.3. 1.5 tapos naging 1.3. So in other words, nagkaroon ng mababa talaga na birth, 'di ba? During that time nung kasabay rin nung vaccination. So ano lang naman to na iniisip lang natin. But now that you have told us na medyo maraming mga late registration,
Bumabalik na po.
it makes
Your
sense
Honor.
na
Opo.
bumaba. Pero mukhang tumaas na uli siya noong 2022 eh.
Opo.
Naging 1.4 na siya uli. Pero in relation to the previous years, malayo pa rin siya. Ang laki ng binaba natin ha. Isipin mo kung marami tayong namamatay, tapos kakaunti rin na pinapanganak, delikado tayo. And that's the reason why we invited the National Security Council in order for them to correlate this data. Kasi maapektuhan lahat tayo eh sa work. Like for example, dito, dalawang congressman na namamatay dito. Di ba? Hindi natin alam kung may relation yun. But somehow, nauubusan tayo. Kung halimbawa sa PNP, marami rin namamatay. Sa AFP, marami namamatay. And it's increasing yung deaths. I mean, hindi siya katulad ng 2021, but 2022 and 2023, marami pa rin siya namamatay. Hindi siya katulad ng previous years, the 5 years average na ganun lang yung average na mamatay. So we have to be what do you call this? Talagang serious about this birth rate and death rate.
Your
Kasi
Honor,
mahirap tayong maging katulad ng Japan na, di ba? Kulang na tao. Baka kasi pagdating ng 5 years o 10 years, doon natin mararamdaman yung epekto. Kasi we all know that yung human manpower is one of the key component for our development. Sige, ma'am.
yes, Your Honor, but may I also alert you that based on our censuses of population, we are noting a decrease in our growth rate. So talaga pong kumukonti na rin naman po yung mga panganganak. Yung ating pong growth rate noon ay around 3% in the 70s. In the recent census 2020, 1.6% po ang growth rate.
What's the reason why the decrease of the growth rate?
So we find that our women are already having very clear fertility intentions. Noong unang panahon po, ang mga 6 na anak bawat babae during her reproductive years, that's in the 70s. Ngayon, actually, from the 2022 National Demographic and Health Survey, it's just 1.9. And we find that women on average want just 3 children now. So talaga pong yung kababaihan and couples are choosing less children. And inaral po namin kung anong rason.
Sandali, parang naiba na tayo ng issue, no? Pero parang magandang pakinggan to, ha? Sige, maganda. Sige, go ahead, ma'am.
You were talking about birth registration. Talaga pong magda-die down siguro siya at a certain level, but not too low as in during the pandemic. And nag-alert lang po ako na slowing down yung growth rate natin. Dumadami pa rin yung populasyon.
Okay.
Women are still giving birth, but slowing down ang increase natin. And women are choosing to have less children. And one of the reasons is economic reason. Mas nahirapang magpalaki ng anak. But there are other reasons, lifestyle change.
Yeah.
Some of our younger couples don't really want children. In fact, if you'll go to some of the malls, you will see may baby stroller pa yung naman pala ay aso, pusa. So may ganun na pong trend.
Nag-worry kasi si Congressman Renante Arrogancia kasi baka maubos yung mga mapapangasawa niya. Anyway, thank you so much po. Siguro NSC, National Security Council, we'll just have to si Ms. Sally Clark, you want to interject?
Your Honor, I would like, because we note that when we're looking at population changes, one of the most important things to evaluate those changes is the data that comes from the Philippine Statistics Authority, which is our registered births and deaths. And you're correct, the registration in 2022 was very low, and there was a big dip when the pandemic started in registrations, which may not have been caught up. So one of the most important things we can use at the moment is data, meaning that we need the data from the Philippine Statistics Authority, and we need an active campaign for all LGUs to collect birth and death data, to send it to PSA for collation, and then for PSA to publish. Because at the moment, 2023 data is only up to November, as of November, but only includes data up to August 2023. So we really don't know what's happening when there's no data. So just my comment is, I'm the lady who's been following data for 3 years. PSA probably know of me because I keep hassling them on where their reports are. But I'd like to emphasize, no data is like driving in the dark. We don't know what we're doing. Thank you.
PSA, ang data na lang naman na kulang nyo yung 2023. Asan ang PSA? PSA nag-comply sila ng 2022, complete na kayo.
Hindi complete.
Is it not complete yet? The 2022?
22 was released. 23 has only been released effective as of November, which is data up to August. So
What I'm
very
trying to tell this body, Sally, the 2022 is already complete, but the 2023 is not yet.
Yes, sir.
So, ano ang 2023 hanggang kailan ang updated nyo?
For our data, it's up to October 2022. sir.
October 2023. At sa October 2023, ilan ang excess deaths?
Hindi pa po natin ma-release for 2023. Sir,
Kala ko
because wala
updated
pa
na
pong
October
November.
2023. October
Wala pa pong
2023,
November and December. Sir.
ilan?
Sir, hindi pa po natin
Can I
mabuo
comment,
yung
sir?
year because
Yes, yeah, go ahead.
kulang pa po
Okay.
yung buwan.
The 2023 data is effective as of death and birth registrations received by November 2023. However, the data that has been released only contains data up to August of 2023. And you could see that it takes several months for the data to be substantially complete. And of the data that is currently available for 2023, we can only look at the first half of the year, because the second half of the year is very incomplete. When we look at the excess deaths in 2023, we can see March, April, and May already have deaths, and June have deaths close to 10% higher than 2022.
Okay, I
So-
understand your point,
Yeah,
Sally.
thank you.
But we have to give the chance sa PSA to update yung we're
Yes, sir.
asking for the 2023. We know the concern of Ms. Sally Clark, but we have to give the chance sa PSA to update that completely.
Thank
no?
you, Your Honor.
2023. Okay, so, Michelle, asan ka? Buka rito. Ano? Tatanungin kita ngayon. Tama ako, mali ako. Sa first 4, tama ako.
Yes po. For the first
Ayun.
four, you're correct po. It's the official link po.
Yes. At
Official
yung,
documents
yes,
po.
yung
For
panghuli,
the last
hindi nyo
po yun.
mabuksan.
Yes po.
Alright. So, February 6, yung International Health Review Committee final report na, di ba? And yung February 6, yung amendments by article, kompleto na rin. February 6, 2020, amendments by country, kompleto na rin. So these are all the amendments. Yusek Tayag, nung sinasabi mo 307, kasama dito sa pinag-usapan. But, meron ka rin point that it will be ratified on the May 2024. So ngayon, ang
Yes,
tanong, pag nasa plenary na kayo ng World Health Organization, wherein our representative are there, can you debate and interpolate on the amendments per se? You cannot. Hindi nyo kaya ng makontrol yung narrative nila doon. Because nagkaroon na kayo ng final amendments sa parang committee level eh. This is a committee level eh. Itong ginawa nila. Sa dapat doon pa lang sa panahon ng committee level, andun na kayo. Yun ang sinasabi natin para updated tayo kasi pagdating nila ng May 2024, they will ratify it.
Yes po. They will ratify po yung final package based po doon sa mga previous discussions. And magbe-base po yung, kumbaga, yung sinasabi nga po nating adoption po ng World Health Assembly kung 2/3 po ng mga member states would accept po the adoption.
Well, hindi naman tayo concerned sa buong 2/3 sa Pilipinas lang.
Oo eh. Yung
Ang point
amendments
ni
natin.
Mr. Perlas kanina,
Yes.
merong mga objectionable na. And based sa sinabi ngayon ni Chairman Dan, tinanggap natin yung mga objectional na yun.
Yun, that's precisely po. We
Yes.
note po doon sa response letter po ni Yusek Tayag, yung technical assistance from the DFA, if we can share po yung mga positions ng Philippines, article per article.
May position na tayo from the DFA?
The discussions po, no,
DOH?
yung pinost po na discussions during the discussions po.
So
Kasi
what
ongoing
happens next?
discussions po eh.
Ongoing pa. So yung mga sinasabi ni
Yes
Mr.
po.
Perlas kanina, yung objectionable na ilang provisions, hindi pa natin ina-accept yun. That is subject to an amendment. Pero tapos na.
Wala tayong discussion, Richelle. Tapos na discussion.
Hindi pa po tapos yung discussion. Meron
Sa
pa pong
plenary.
April
Okay, so
2022 to 26 po na meeting.
I will give you
Yes
again
po.
the
And
benefit of the doubt that will happen.
Yes po.
I'm happy to find out that there's still one final updated amendment that will happen on April. If that is really true, thank you so much. Tapos
Yes
yung
po, it
position
is po.
natin, i-ano na natin, ipasok na natin. Yung mga objection, give us a copy of your of the position of the government.
Confidential ba yan? Or can you
Have you
share that with us?
have you tried to give to the president kung ano yung ating mga amendment that will be included? Baka hindi rin alam ng gobyerno itong mga amendments na pinag-uusapan nyo. O tingnan nyo, kayo na lang. Ano ba yan? We will all be binded by that. Tapos kayo nag-uusap. Paano ang presidente? Paano ang kongreso? Paano ang senado?
Yes, Richelle.
Um,
Yes, Richelle.
yes po. No, so that's why for a while po, I'll just
Sige, ganito na lang, Richelle.
concur with
Ganito
our
na lang,
colleague
Richelle.
po.
Since
Okay.
hindi pa alam ng presidente, hindi pa namin alam, hindi pa alam ng lahat. So, April pa naman yun. So, tingnan nyo, basahin nyo lang yung mga contentious issues that will affect us all. Di ba? Oh.
Is it confidential? Pwede ba tayo magpa-submit dito sa committee, sa joint committee, nung final stand niyo by right after April, ano?
Yeah,
Para alam namin kung
hindi naman to
in-accept
confidential
nila.
because everybody knows about the 307 amendments. Mag-Google ka lang, makikita mo na eh.
So, Richelle, Yusik Tayag, Richelle, will you submit that to this joint committee by before May? Kung ano yung stand ng Philippines in this different, all the amendments to be approved or ratified sa May.
If what happens in May na meron ng final package, it will be compared doon sa stand ng Department of Health or the Philippines. And so, if substantial yon, the Philippines may choose not to vote for its ratification.
If you do not vote, if the Philippines does not vote for the ratification, but it still reaches the minimum 2/3, we are still going to be bound by that.
Meron pong 12 months to finally reject or approve it.
Okay.
And for member states,
Yes.
10 months.
So-
At dun sa period na yon, kailangan namin ng marami ng kakampi.
Kung wala
Kasi-
kung wala tayong kakampi, hindi lang naman kayo eh. Tayo yan eh.
Alam mo, you know what?
Wala na.
You need to,
Bound tayo.
Chair, you need talaga to update the members of the committee and the Congress and the Senate para alam namin kung ano yung nangyayari. Kasi kung hindi pa namin na-search to, hindi pa natin malalaman.
And just to
Di ba?
remind everybody, at the end of the day, may constitution tayo. There's a Philippine constitution which says that sovereignty resides in the people and all government authority emanates from them. So hindi natin pwedeng i-give up yun. Or else.
Sir, yun ang pinaka-tripwire namin.
Yes.
One, any incursion sa existing national laws
Yes.
is specifically in sovereignty
Yes,
natin, non-negotiable pa.
Non-negotiable lang. May ano tayo doon. And then the final point na lang, so you will apologize? Sabi mo yung last point.
Hindi, siya mag-apologize.
Sino ba mag-apologize?
Diba I told you, if I'm right, you will
Sige, wala na lang.
apologize.
Wala
And if
na
I'm wrong,
mag-apologize.
I will apologize.
Okay, wala na
So, Ms.
mag-apologize.
Rochelle, what?
Wala na. Ano na tayo?
Mr.
Sir,
Chair.
but the last link is not working and not of the
Common na lang. Common.
Rochelle, I asked you kanina, kapag napatunayan ko na tama lahat yung link, di ba, you will say sorry. Etong last mo, hindi mo lang siya ma-open. But basically, lahat yan tama, apat ang tama, isa lang yung hindi mo ma-open at hindi yan malaman kung tama o mali, you have to say sorry to me.
Let's wait for the next. Okay? Di ba kompleto? So, wala pa.
The
Mr.
last
Chair.
word will be
Mr. Chair.
NSC muna.
Just-
We have to muna yung NSC, no? Andiyan yung National Security Council. Sir, para at least matapos na itong ano natin. So sa National Security Council, can you kindly comment on this issue pertaining sa, of course, at stake yung ano natin dito, yung security ng ating mga mamamayan because kung bumababa yung ating population, somehow makaka-apekto, di ba? So, what's your position on what is happening on all of this?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, co-chairs, and apologies for Secretary Anyo for not being able to appear to this August body. But the National Security Secretariat supports the resolution being filed by the committee, Mr. Chair, and our stand is that the importance of reporting deaths accurately will make sure the country's health system capability in responding to diseases. In return, this will also help in recalibrating Philippine policies and regulations on healthcare and in preparation for and response for future pandemics. On the earlier discussion, Mr. Chair, yes, as mentioned earlier by the committee, we need to work for the Filipino people in order for us to protect the rights and lives of the Filipino people, Mr. Chair.
Yung numerous previous reports of PNP and AFP dying, did it reach your office?
Yes, Mr. Chair, but unfortunately, we don't have the capability nor the database of information on number of deaths and excess deaths at the moment, Mr. Chair. And we will find out for the accurate data on that matter, Mr. Chair.
So give us all the details, no, para at least malaman din po namin yung sa issue about it, no, na ilan yung namamatay talaga. Kasi kayo yung may meron kayong mga intel report diyan, dapat mas ano niyo yan mas dig niyo nga yung sitwasyon di ba?
Mr. Chair, we will just collate the necessary reports and data, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Members?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Perlas.
now that you've, can I just follow up with the working group on IHR? There are a number of points that have emerged which are not clear. The first point is that when the amendments are approved, it will not pass through the legislature. I think we have to be very clear that the Congress will have no power to oversee those. I mean, this is in the IHR. It's different from the pandemic treaty that will have to pass through Congress. But the IHR amendments, it's going to be the responsibility of the executive branch, basically the president of the Philippines. So that, in other words, there's no oversight power of Congress in that. That's why it's very dangerous, Mr. Chair. And that leads to my second question. Is it the rule in the working group of the IHR, in the WHO, that they cannot comment on those 307 amendments while there's draft being formed, because it will basically be useless? There's no more time to make the comments. You cannot debate 307 amendments in the General Assembly. So I just want to clarify if at this point our Philippine position on those 307 amendments can now be actually sent to the WHO, and if they change some of those, but at least we got our opinion, some of them will be retained. I just want to ask if that procedure is acceptable within the WHO working group on IHR. So can I ask to you, Mr. Chair?
All right. So kasi nga, if the president was not given the 307 amendments, so much more of us.
No, exactly.
Hindi tayo nabigyan ng amendments. So
Yeah.
anyway, it's all written naman in the sources natin sa internet. No? So we can really find out the yung mga different comments. Pero all of the countries have already commented and proposed amendments and issue yung kanilang mga objection. And I was reading all the countries that have commented and objected. Wala naman ng Pilipinas. Kaya nga yung sinasabi nyo that we will be having a discussion again. Tignan natin sa May 2024 para at least malaman po natin what really will happen, no? Because that amendments were already discussed thoroughly by the World Health Assembly and the IHR. Anyway, all right. So any more discussion?
As a suggestion, Mr. Chair, can the
Yes,
can
Mr.
the
Perlas.
representatives of the WHO from the Philippines send your committee and then to the public a copy of their position? Because
Yeah, we requested the
Yeah.
the representative Yusek Taya ang pangalan ng representative nila sa atin, hindi natin sa kanila. Yung representative nila sa atin.
Si Ruby po.
Ruby.
Ruby, R-U-I.
Oh yeah, Ruby. So can we ask them to furnish us doon sa mga amendments that they have?
Yes, sir. But ang sinabi nilang caveat, they may have to refer it sa WHO Geneva.
Point lang yung Philippine stand. What we
Yung-
want is that akala ko meron na kayong stand comments.
But
that's
they're not aware of
Yes,
ours.
sir.
Yung
Hindi sila,
country, right?
tayo. The Philippine delegation already has a stand. In fact, you're consulting the DFA. So pero may final na amendments for final package sometime in April. So after that, could you please provide this committee before May yung official position ng Philippines on the different amendments?
That's possible, sir.
Yes, yun yung request lang. Thank you.
So, okay, so there will be the last word from my partner, Vice Chairman Akop. Vice Chairman Akop. Any comments? May comment yan. Yan ang final word.
Mr. Chair,
Sige, go ahead.
kung sa May 27, dihado pa rin ang Pilipinas dun sa regulations na yon, then we file a resolution again to investigate bakit ganun ang nangyari.
Yon. So at least coming from my vice chairman, no, galing siya sa kabilang hearing sa public account, so na-late na siya. But next time, if sa May 2024 nangyari is adverse sa gusto ng ating mga mamamayan, I think we will be opening up again the investigation. Okay? But for the meantime, we will be waiting. Wala na naman pong ilang months na lang po yan from now. And we will be finding out if all those amendments that have been written in the all the sources that we have seen ay wala tayong na-contribute man lang. Di ba? Okay, so thank you so much, Congressman Ray Arrogancia.
Mr. Chairman, motion to adjourn.
So there's a motion to suspend. Suspend. Suspend.
Sorry, I withdraw my motion. Motion to suspend, Mr.
So
Chairman.
there is a motion to suspend and duly seconded. The reason why we suspended, because after May 2024, we will start again the investigation. So, hearing suspended. On the part of the Committee on Public Order, this hearing is suspended.
On the part of the Committee on Human Rights, this joint committee is hereby suspended. Thank you to all invited guests. Thank you to the members. Ito na. Okay. Tama naman.